Hello Warhammer Explorers. Before we dive in, hit subscribe so the next transmission isn't lost to the warp. Every click tells me to keep building this universe with you. What if the Emperor of Mankind arrived in Transformers? The Emperor of Mankind feels a new kind of prayer in the warp, a hard, bright song of metal. He sees a whole world that is also a god, surrounded by devouring shadow, and he knows that shadow will one day touch his own Imperium. If that machine god falls, the path of mankind twists toward a worse doom. So he bends the Golden Throne into a bridge, locking his will to the strange world's living code, even as alarms scream across terror. The bridge opens with a golden tear through reality, and the Emperor steps through as the breach slams into Cybertron's sky. The sky of Unicron splits like metal under a cutting torch. Every sensor tower on Cybertron's capital city screams at once. Warning sigils flash red. Clouds of ion dust boil away as a vertical wound of golden light opens over the city's highest spires. Gravity shudders. Transformers stumble in the streets as the world itself seems to glitch. On the plaza below, a worker drone drops a crate of energon and stares up. He is small by Cybertronian standards, a simple loader frame with scraped yellow plates. His optics struggle to adjust to the harsh light. The wound in the sky is not a normal space bridge. It is too bright, too alive. It feels like someone shouting into his mind in the language of fire. Central, this is Doc 9. A voice crackles over a comm line. We have some kind of portal over Yakon. This isn't Decepticon tech. Repeat, this isn't Decepticon. In Autobot High Command, holoscreens bloom with data. Optimus Prime stands at the center of the war room. He is tall and broad, blue and red armor darkened by long war. His faceplate is set. Around him, tacticians and analysts call out readings. No transwarp signature, says Perceptor, the Autobot scientist, optics whirring as he magnifies feeds. No standard space bridge harmonics. Energy output is. I have no match in any Cybertronian archive. It feels like it is looking at us, mutters Prowl, the stern tactician, like a scanner aimed back. On one side of the chamber, an older Autobot watches in silence. His frame is robed with layered plates, his beard made of cables and fine metal strands. Alpha Trion, archivist of Primus, keeps his hands folded on his staff. The glyphs of ancient code drift across his optics as he stares at the golden wound. This is not Decepticon, Alpha Trion says softly, and it is not of Primus. Something other touches our heaven. Outside, the wound widens. The air screams. Lightning of raw warp energy claws down through the clouds, searing towers, blowing out windows. The worker drone screams as a chunk of a high spire, cut loose by the shock, breaks away and hurtles straight toward the plaza. He throws himself over a smaller bot, trying to shield them. It is a useless reflex. The falling mass is the size of a starship. The world slows. The falling tower fragment stops in midair, wrapped in a cage of golden light. The glow is warm and terrible. It feels like standing inside a sun. Every transformer in the plaza drops to one knee as a pressure like a giant hand pushes down on their minds, not to crush, but to make them kneel. A figure walks out of the golden wound. He is small compared to the towers, small even compared to the Cybertronians below, but he does not feel small. He stands perhaps 3 meters tall, wrapped in armor of living gold, every plate covered in sigils and ancient art. A cloak of red moves behind him, though there is no wind. His eyes burn with steady light. The worker drone's mouth opens. No sound comes out. The golden figure raises one hand. The trapped tower fragment slowly turns, its mass groaning as stress lines glow orange. With a small motion, he slides it away from the plaza and sets it down, neat and safe, on a wide, empty avenue. The shockwave still rattles windows, but no one dies. The pressure on every mind eases, but it does not vanish. Life preserved, the figure says. His voice is deep and calm, and somehow it echoes through metal streets and radio lines at once. This world is loud, so many machine minds, so bright. Codex note. Later, some imperial scribes will mark this as the first recorded contact between the Emperor and a fully mechanical civilization. The portal behind him spits more light. 3 more figures step through, each a giant by human standards, but still small compared to the towering Autobots. They are warriors in ornate armor, taller and broader than any mortal man. Their helms crowned with crests, their spears and swords crackling with caged power. The Adeptus Custodes, golden guardians of the Emperor, take position around him without a word. To Cybertronian optics, they are tiny gold statues that move like fire. Autobot gun turrets track them on instinct. Targeting runes flicker, then scramble, unable to lock cleanly. The air around the new arrivals bends and shimmers in ways no Cybertronian sensor fully understands. In the war room, Perceptor's voice tightens. "Those are biologicals," he says. "Organic. But their energy readings are, I have no frame of reference." "Put me through," Optimus says. His voice echoes out across secure frequencies. High-powered speakers in the plaza crackle to life. A hologram of Optimus Prime, life-size to the human newcomers, flickers into being above the plaza, projecting down from the command tower. The Emperor looks up at the image. He sees a metal giant with kind optics. He feels the mind behind those optics, old and burdened, like a general who has carried too many dead. He also feels the web of sparks all around, the living data souls of the Cybertronians. They are not human. They are not flesh, but they are alive. This is Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots, the projection says. You have entered a war zone. Identify yourself and your intent. The Emperor's gaze holds steady. I am the Emperor of mankind, he answers. His words roll through the plaza and through command channels. I felt your world call out through the warp, through the sea between realities. I came to see if that call is a plea for help or a threat. The worker drone flinches at the word threat. He has lived his whole life under Decepticon raids and Autobot counterattacks. The idea that even the sky could be a threat is not new. But this golden figure feels different. Not like a Decepticon warlord, not like a space bridge gone wrong. He feels like a judgment. Optimus studies him. You say you came to help, Optimus says, but your arrival nearly tore a tower from the sky. You have already put lives at risk. A fair point, the Emperor says. There is a hint of tired humor in his tone, but it does not become a joke. Power always risks those it touches. That is why it must be guided, not worshipped. On a side screen, Alpha Trion leans closer. Warp, he murmurs. Sea between realities. These are not our words, but the pattern matches myths of dark space around Primus. Be careful, Optimus. A being who walks through such seas may be a god, or worse. In orbit, a hunter watches. Far above Cybertron, hidden in the debris ring, a Decepticon stealth craft floats in the shadow of a broken moon. Inside, Decepticon scouts stare at their instruments, optics wide. Lord Megatron must see this, one whispers. It's like a new star just opened over Econ. In the core of the Decepticon warship Nemesis, deep in dark space, Megatron himself turns as a projection of the Golden Wound appears before him. The Emperor's arrival has not gone unseen. Back over Aecon, the golden portal starts to shrink. The bridge strains. The golden throne, half a universe away in another reality, screams in a way only psychers can hear. The Emperor feels the pain of thousands of human souls, chained to his machine, flare and dim. He feels terror flicker at the edge of his mind, like a candle in a storm. So, there is a cost. He files the pain away. He has carried worse. He lets the portal close, sealing his path home for now. He is locked in with this metal world. That is the price. In the plaza, Autobots begin to move. A squad of Aecon security rolls in, blue and white frames shifting from vehicle to robot mode as they form a loose ring around the golden figures. Weapons are drawn but not yet raised. "Easy," says one, a young guard with fresh paint. Optimus didn't say fire. The Emperor looks around. He sees fear. He sees discipline. He sees a people at war who have not yet given up on mercy. That touches something in him, though his face does not show it. "Optimus Prime," he says, still looking up at the hologram. "Your world is a god, and it is under siege. I felt a devouring shadow move toward it. I came to face that shadow, because if it eats your god, it grows, and then it will reach for mine." "You speak of Primus," Alpha-Trion says, stepping into view beside Optimus's projection. His staff taps on the floor of the war room. "And of Unicron, perhaps, but you speak as if they are real to you, not only legend." "In my realm, gods are real and poisonous," the Emperor answers. "I cut them down when I can. I chain them when I must. I do not bow to them, ever." The word gods runs through Autobot channels like a charge. Some soldiers feel a pulse of hope. If someone can cut down Unicron, perhaps there is a way out of the endless war. Others feel dread. Beings who kill gods are most often monsters. "Lord Optimus," Prowl says quietly, "we must consider the risk. His power is unmeasured, his origin unknown. This could be another kind of Decepticon trap." Optimus nods once. He understands. He also remembers what it felt like when the tower fragment stopped in mid-air, held by gentle, careful force. He weighs that against the almost crushing pressure of the golden mind. "Emperor of mankind," Optimus says, "we will hear you, but not here in the open. Will you submit to a controlled approach? You will stand down your weapons. We will escort you to high command." The custodes move at once. Spears shift, shields hum. Their armor reconfigures minutely as threat vectors flash through their helmets. They do not like surrendering any initiative. The Emperor raises one hand. "Peace," he says to them. Then to Optimus, "I submit to no one, but I will walk with you. I will not strike unless struck first, unless I see true horror that must be stopped at once. Is that enough?" Alpha-Trion's optics narrow. He hears the limitation. He also hears the loopholes. True horror is a broad phrase, but there is no way to bind a being like this by force, not yet. Best to bind him by honesty. "For now," Alpha-Trion says, "that will have to do." A ramp unfolds from the side of the plaza as an Autobot transport reconfigures itself into a carrier platform. The Emperor steps onto it, his golden guardians close behind. The transport shudders lightly under their mass, then lifts. From his angle, the worker drone can see the Emperor's face as he rises. It is not the face of a machine. It is human, strong-boned and stern, with skin the color of old bronze. There is no helmet, only a crown of simple gold that pulses faintly with power. When their eyes meet for a second, the worker drone feels like the Emperor can see every memory he has ever had. Then the platform rises away toward the command tower. "Who was that?" whispers the smaller bot beside the worker drone. Someone who moves towers with his hand, the worker says, still staring up. Someone who might actually scare Megatron. He hopes that is true. He also fears what happens if it is. The command tower doors open with deep metallic groans as the Autobot transport docks. Inside, the corridors are tall and wide, built for giants. The Emperor walks through them with measured steps, the custodes at his sides. They move easily in the heavy gravity. To them, this world feels light. Autobot guards stand at attention as he passes. Their optics track his every motion. He feels their sparks as a soft buzz at the edge of his senses. These are not soulless machines. Their minds shine in the warp, thin and sharp and strange. They are not human souls, but cousins to them, shaped by code instead of blood. Interesting. Optimus Prime waits for him in the main command hall. Here, the room opens into a vast chamber lined with holoscreens and tactical displays. A window looks out over Icon's shining spires, now scarred by the earlier shock. Optimus steps forward, flanked by Ratchet the medic and Ironhide, the gruff weapons specialist. Alpha Trion stands near a bank of data pylons, his staff glowing faintly. The Emperor stops a few strides away. Up close, the size difference is more clear. Optimus towers over him like a titan over a man. But the golden figure does not look small. The room seems to lean toward him. "Welcome to Autobot High Command," Optimus says. "You said you crossed realities to reach us, that you felt our world under threat." "Yes," the Emperor says. "Your god world, Primus, is not alone in the dark. There are others like him, and others who hate beings like him. I have spent long ages fighting such hatreds. When Unicron turns his full attention to you, he will not come alone. He will come with things from my sea, not yours." "The warp," Alpha Trion says. "Your word from before." The Emperor nods. "A realm of thought and hunger," he says. "A place where every mind casts a shadow. Your people are loud there. Their sparks sing. That is why you drew my gaze." "You came because we are loud?" Ironhide snorts. "Next time we should whisper." Ratchet gives him a sharp look, but the comment hangs. The Emperor turns his eyes on Ironhide. "To be loud is to be alive," he says. "I will not tell you to be less, but I will tell you that predators hear loud prey from farther away." Optimus absorbs that. "So Unicron," he says slowly, "might hear us, and things from your warp might hear Unicron." "Yes," the Emperor says. "I felt a link forming, a bridge, a pattern of hunger wrapping around your god's core. If it tightens fully, it will punch through into my reality as well, that I will not allow." Alpha Trion's hands clench on his staff. "We have long feared Unicron," he says. "We have known he would return, but never have we heard that he might pull us into another realm when he feeds." "Primus is a lock," the Emperor says. "Unicron is the key. The warp is the door. I broke into your house to nail that door shut before he walks through it." "Your metaphors are simple," Perceptor notes, unable to help himself even in awe, but the math behind them must be complex. The Emperor allows himself the smallest smile. "Yes," he says, "very complex." Before Optimus can respond, a harsh alarm cuts across the chamber. "Decepticon fleet detected," a voice shouts over general comms. Multiple signatures emerging from the far side of the debris ring. "They are not using standard space bridge. They just appeared." Optimus whirls to the tactical display. Hollow icons bloom over a render of Cybertron and its debris halo. Red Decepticon symbols flash on the far side near the broken moon. Vectors streak inward. Megatron, Ironhide growls. He was watching. Perceptor shakes his head. Their jump profile doesn't match any recorded Decepticon FTL, he says. His optics tilt as he magnifies the readings. There's a golden component to the energy. I believe they use the same breach you did, Emperor. The room goes quiet. The Emperor closes his eyes for a heartbeat. He reaches out with his mind, tracing the path of the Decepticon entry. Yes, there it is. A faint echo of the bridge he made, ripped open again by brutal force. I left a scar in space when I came, he said. Your enemies found it and stabbed it wider. That is the first cost of my choice. Optimus's faceplate tightens. So by coming to help us, he says, you have given Megatron a new way to move. Yes, the Emperor says simply. This is how war always is. Every act has weight. Every weapon cuts both ways. Alpha Trion looks at him, then at the displays. Can you close it? He asks. Can you heal the scar you made? In time, the Emperor says. But closing it while they burn through it will be like sealing a wound in the middle of battle. Painful, bloody, not clean. Optimus's optics narrow as he watches red vectors converge on the city. They are heading for Iacon, Prowl reports. Straight line, no feint. This is a strike to break our core. Then we meet them, Optimus says. He turns back to the Emperor. You wanted to face the shadow moving toward us, Optimus says. For now, the shadow wears Decepticon symbols. Will you stand with us against them? The Emperor looks up at the displays. Decepticon ships burn toward the atmosphere like a swarm of metal meteors. He senses the minds of their crews, hard and jagged. He feels behind them a distant, larger hunger, like a huge mouth sleeping for now. I will, he says. Your world's fate now touches my own. I cannot leave. I can only choose how I pay for what I have done. He turns to his custodies. Form on me, he says. We go to the walls. The Golden Warriors snap their spears in salute. Optimus gestures to Ironhide and Ratchet. Battle stations, he says. Get the ground batteries online. Ironhide, you'll coordinate ground fire with our guests. Ratchet, prepare med bays for casualties. Organic and Cybertronian both. What about me? Alpha Trion asks quietly. Optimus meets his gaze. Find out what you can about this. Warp, Optimus says. If Unicron can use it, we must know how. Alpha Trion nods slowly. And if this Emperor is lying, he says, then we will know that too, Optimus answers. But right now, our skies are full of Decepticons. We have one more weapon than we had this morning. We will use it. Moments later, the city burns. Decepticon dropships tear through the atmosphere, black and jagged, spewing bolts of purple energy. Seekers in jet mode howl past, transforming in spirals of metal to fire down on Autobot positions. Anti-air batteries answer, lancing the sky with bright beams. Buildings shudder as impacts rip chunks from their sides. On a high platform near the city's outer shell, the Emperor stands with his custodes and a line of Autobot gunners. He feels the warp wind howl around the Decepticon entry vectors. They rode the edge of his scar to get here. He can also feel where that scar brushes something deeper and darker, far below, near Cybertron's core. Later, first, he must hold the walls. Enemy at bearing 083, an Autobot gunner calls. Dropships incoming. Fire, Ironhide bellows. Cannons roar. The Emperor raises his hand again. He reaches not for the ships, but for the space around them. He twists gravity along the scar, bending their trajectory wider. Several dropships suddenly veer off course, colliding with each other and exploding in mid-air far from the city. Others fight his push, engines screaming. They punch through, limping toward the lower districts. The strain hits him like spikes behind his eyes. He feels the bridge back to the Golden Throne tug, hard. The throne responds with a surge of pain. Somewhere far away, a choir of human psychers screams as power spikes. He grits his teeth. Not now. Hold. Yes, he murmurs. You will hold my throne. You have to. I am not done here. Beside him, a custodian thrusts his spear forward. A beam of pure light lances out, punching clean through a seeker mid-transformation. The Decepticon explodes in a spray of twisted metal, raining down on the no-man's land beyond the walls. Autobot gunners cheer, shocked despite themselves. What in Primus's name are you? One blurts. A soldier, the custodian replies simply. Another wave of seekers dives. This time, the Emperor does not bend gravity. That spike of pain taught him caution. Instead, he draws in warp energy and shapes it into a dome over the platform. Bolts slam into the invisible barrier and splash out as harmless light. To the Autobot optics, it looks like a bubble of faint gold around their position. To the Emperor, it feels like holding back a river with his bare hands. Keep firing, he says, voice steady though sweat beads on his brow. I will cover you. They do. For long minutes the platform becomes a furnace. Autobot cannons thud and whine. Decepticon jets scream and fall. The Emperor's shield holds, though it grows thinner with each hit. At one point, a dropship crashes so close that shrapnel skids along the barrier, showering sparks over everyone. The workers below scream and duck. Autobot gunners keep their positions. Ironhide laughs once, sharp and fierce. I could get used to this, he mutters. A shield you can trust. Then the ground shakes, not just from impacts, from something deeper. A low, grinding rumble runs through Cybertron's bedrock. Down in the planet's core, where Primus sleeps, the scar the Emperor left in the fabric of reality brushes the god's vast, resting mind. For a moment, faint and far, the Emperor feels that mind stir. It is like feeling a mountain think. A pulse runs up from the core. It moves through metal strata, through energon veins, through every Cybertronian spark. For an instant, every transformer on the planet feels a shiver, as if their god just took a breath. The Emperor feels it too. Our gods are touching, he realizes. This is worse than I thought. But he has no time to explain. A Decepticon dropship, burning and wounded, breaks through the flak and slams into the wall not far from their platform. It gouges a hole, then breaks apart, spilling a squad of Decepticon warriors into the breach. They roar as they charge, weapons blazing. Contact, someone shouts. They're in the wall. Ironhide transforms on the move, rolling forward as a truck and then flipping back into robot mode mid-slide, cannons booming. Autobot infantry pour fire into the breach. The Emperor steps off the platform. To the Autobot optics, it looks like he simply leaps. In truth, warp fingers catch him, slowing his fall and dropping him like a stone with purpose into the heart of the breach. He lands in front of the leading Decepticon with enough force to crack the floor. The Decepticon is huge, a heavy trooper with tank treads on his shoulders and a cannon arm the size of the Emperor's whole body. He sneers and swings the cannon down. What is this tiny thing? He scoffs. The Emperor's sword is in his hand. The blade is long and simple and wreathed in golden fire. With one smooth motion, he cuts up through the Decepticon's cannon arm, across his chest, and out through the other side. The golden fire is not heat, it is will. It cuts not only metal, but the spark inside. The Decepticon's eyes go wide. For a brief instant, the Emperor sees memories flash. Drills in the Decepticon Academy, Megatron's speeches, the thrill of conquest. Then the spark goes out. The Decepticon falls in 2 pieces. The others hesitate. They have faced many strange weapons, but nothing quite like this blade that seems to cut their very lives. The Emperor does not pause. He moves through them like a storm. He is not fast the way a seeker is fast. He is fast the way a falling hammer is fast. Every swing is simple and clean. Every block is efficient. Golden fire leaps from his blade to his free hand as he grips a Decepticon's face and crushes, not metal, but spark. Behind him, the Custodes drop into the breach, their spears and shields forming a tight wall. Autobot soldiers line up behind them, firing over their shoulders. For one strange, fierce moment, human demigods and Cybertronian warriors fight side by side to hold the wound in the city's skin. From the walls above, Autobots watch. Primus, someone whispers. He fights like a prime. Or like something that makes primes, another says. Within minutes, the breach is clogged with Decepticon dead. Those still outside pull back, falling away under heavy fire. A battered dropship tries to power back into the sky, but a custodian spear arcs through the air, trailing golden light, and pierces its engine core. It explodes in a ball of purple flame. Silence falls over that section of the wall. The Emperor stands amid scorched metal and leaking energon, his sword still humming softly. He lowers the blade, and the fire fades. He looks tired now, not weak, but the strange shows in the tightness around his eyes. A faint trickle of blood, bright and red, runs from one nostril. He wipes it away with the back of his hand. Ironhide stomps up, optics wide. "You bleed," he says, surprised. "Didn't expect that." "I am flesh," the Emperor says, "and will. Both can break." Above them, the sky battle still rages, but the main Decepticon thrust at this wall has been stopped. Red icons on the tactical display begin to pull back. In the command hall, Optimus watches the holofeed. He sees the golden figure hold the breach. He sees the shield over the platform. He sees the way the Emperor moved, always in front of the most probable threat, as if he could see the future of each bullet. Optimus feels a chill. "This is no ordinary ally," he says quietly. Alpha Trion nods. "No," he agrees. "He is a god that denies the name, or a man who has climbed too close to it." Around Cybertron, the Decepticon fleet starts to break off. They have tested the new power. They have taken losses. On the Nemesis, Megatron watches his screens with narrowed optics, storing every frame of the golden figure's movements. "Interesting," he murmurs. "A small god has come to play on our board." Far from his command throne, deep in a shadowed chamber, another presence listens. Its voice is not sound, but vibration. It whispers in Megatron's mind, in every Decepticon's rage, in the warp scar itself. Hungry. On the wall, the Emperor turns his face toward the sky. He cannot hear Unicron's voice the way Megatron does, but he feels something move in the dark, testing the edges of his bridge, sniffing at the scent of his power. "You will not have this world," he whispers, more to himself than to the sky. "Not without going through me, and I have stopped worse than you." For now, the attack is over. Rescue crews scramble. Autobot medics rush to treat the wounded. Ratchet finds himself bending over golden armor and metal plating alike, cursing in 2 languages at once. The Emperor walks back toward the command tower, his custodies flanking him, metal boots ringing on scarred metal. Up to now, he has torn open a path between worlds, saved a city from falling metal, and helped hold off a Decepticon strike. But in doing so, he has given Megatron a new road into the sky and brushed his own god against Primus's core. the real war is only just beginning. For a brief time, the guns fall quiet. Smoke hangs over Yakon like dirty fog. Flames lick from broken towers. Sirens wail. Distant booms mark delayed collapses as damaged buildings give up and fall. The Emperor walks through a street that was whole that morning. Autobot rescue crews move around him. They lift fallen beams. They cut open crumpled doors. Small maintenance bots dart in and out, sealing energon leaks. A team of medics works on a half-crushed Autobot, their tools buzzing as they patch shattered plates and re-weld severed lines. Ratchet kneels over a wounded custodian at the same time. The Golden Warrior's armor is cracked along one side. Dark blood seeps out beneath the plates. Ratchet's tools are not made for flesh, but he improvises. He uses a welding beam very carefully, tuned down to heat and seal the wound without cooking the man inside. "You people are as fragile as datapads," Ratchet mutters. "All that power in a shell that tears like foil." The custodian laughs once, breathless. "And you are made of glass and wire," he says, "yet you still stand." The Emperor watches for a moment. He sees the way Ratchet's hands move. Fast, steady, angry, but careful. He sees the way Autobot workers help the wounded Decepticons too, when they find any still alive. A wounded Seeker lies on a cart nearby. His wing is half gone. His chest plate is torn open, showing a flickering, cracked spark chamber. An Autobot nurse kneels beside him, pressing a patch over a leaking energon hose. "Why?" the Seeker rasps. "We would not do this for you." "Maybe that's why you're losing," the nurse says. "Hold still." The Emperor files this away. Mercy under fire. It is a familiar idea. He has seen it in his own armies at their best, and seen it die when the war grew worse. A shadow falls over the street. He looks up. A massive shape drifts overhead, blocking the smoke-filtered light. It is the Ark, the great Autobot starship, hovering low over the city on roaring thrusters. Its hull is scorched. New scars mark its flanks. "Optimus calls for you," says an Autobot runner, rolling up and transforming. "High Command wants you on the Ark. We are taking the fight to the Decepticons." The Emperor nods. He turns to his custodes. "Arm and reform," he says. "We go to war in the void." They fall in behind him at once. In the command hall, Optimus stands before a three-dimensional map. Cybertron hangs in the center, wrapped in clouds of debris. Red Decepticon markers flicker in the ring. Some pull away, licking their wounds. Others cluster around a larger shape. "The Nemesis," Perceptor says, pointing. "Megatron's flagship. It was in shadow behind the moon. It moved during the attack. Now it sits here, behind this new hole." The hole is a knot of warping space. To Autobot instruments, it is a tear in gravity and field lines. To the Emperor's mind, it glows like a raw wound, spilling warp light into normal space. "That is where they forced my scar open," the Emperor says. "They made a smaller bridge at its edge. If they root there, they can jump in and out of your orbit at will. Then we rip them out," Ironhide says. His fist hits his palm. "We hit the Nemesis hard, while they are still off balance." Prowl folds his arms. "A frontal attack on the Nemesis is suicide," he says. "They have point defense grids, Seeker swarms, and likely new tricks drawn from this. Warp, even with our guest." Optimus looks at the Emperor. "You said you wanted to face the shadow," he says. "This is where it bites. If we destroy Megatron's hold on your scar, we may slow Unicron also, but we cannot do it alone." "You should not do it alone," the Emperor answers. "This is my scar, my duty. I will go with you. I will stand on Megatron's bridge and break his new toy." Perceptor hesitates. "With respect, Emperor," he he says. If your power is tied to that scar, then going near it may be dangerous to you, or to us if it flares. The Emperor's eyes flicker. War does not wait for safe choices, he says. We choose the danger we accept. Better I risk myself beside you than leave you to face the thing I made without me. Optimus nods once. Very well, he says. We launch a strike. The Ark will take a spearhead of our best. You and your warriors will join the boarding party. Our goal is not to capture the Nemesis. We do not have the forces to hold it. Our goal is to cripple the device Megatron is using to hold your scar. Prowl's optics narrow. A thrust, then a retreat, he says. We must plan the exit as carefully as the entry. Agreed, Optimus says. Alpha Trion steps forward. Be warned, he says. Megatron is more than a warlord. He is a student of old codes. He may have found ways to align this warp of yours with our own myths. He will not use such power in simple ways. His optics fall on the Emperor. And you, he says softly. You must be careful not to twist Primus as you fight. A god under stress may wake in the wrong way. I do not mean to wake your god, the Emperor says, only to keep him from being eaten. That is a fine line, Alpha Trion replies. He taps his staff on the floor. Very well, go. But understand this. If your war burns Cybertron's soul, you will not face our enemies alone. You will face us also. There is no threat in his voice, only a flat statement of fact. The Emperor inclines his head. Noted, he says. Codex note. Many later Imperial scholars will call Alpha Trion the closest thing this metal world has to an Inquisitor, though his power is knowledge, not fear. The Ark's hangar bay is a forest of metal giants. Autobot warriors load ammunition and energon. Some shift form to test weapon systems. Others kneel beside racks of gear, checking each piece in turn. The air hums with power. On one side, a new shape stands. A tall figure in blue armor marked with a white U. A helmet with a ridge. A large, thick plate shield. An Imperial bolter in one hand. An ultramarine. He came through in the wake of the Emperor's bridge, dragged along by the warp currents, spat into Cybertron's orbit in a burst of light that almost killed him. Now he stands on the Ark's deck, still staring at the sheer size of the metal beings around him. I am Brother Sergeant Titus of the Ultramarines, he says to the Emperor. I live by your grace and the machine's suffering, my lord. Command me. You stand by your own strength, the Emperor answers, but I accept your service. This world is not ours, but its fate now touches terror. Your bolter will speak here as loudly as anywhere. Autobots nearby look down at the new arrival. Small but fierce, Ironhide says, amused. Reminds me of Cliffjumper. The Ultramarine frowns. I do not know that chapter, he says. Optimus approaches. We fight different wars, Brother Sergeant, he says, but today we share a cause. We go to strike Megatron. Will you stand with my Autobots as you stand with your Emperor? Titus looks up at Optimus. He sees a giant of metal, but also the stance of a warrior king. He nods. Where my lord walks, I walk, he says. Where he fights, I fight. I will stand in your shield wall, metal or flesh. Then welcome to the Ark, Optimus says. They launch. Thrusters roar. The Ark rises from Mekon, pushing through smoke and cloud. It clears the atmosphere and enters the debris ring, nose pointed toward the Nemesis. On the command deck, the stars swing into view. The Nemesis hangs ahead. It is huge, dark. Its hull is shaped like a jagged blade, driving through the debris like a shark through bones. Around it, smaller Decepticon ships patrol. Between them hangs the warp scar. To Autobot sensors, it is a boiling knot of strange gravity and weird light. To the Emperor, it is a screaming tear, still raw and open. He feels it pulling. He also feels something on the other side of it. A pressure. A presence. Unicron's attention, faint but growing. If we fail, he thinks, this link will widen. My Imperium will feel this machine god's death like a shockwave. Optimus's voice cuts through his thoughts. Shields up, he says. Gunnery teams, lock on to escort craft. Do not fire on the Nemesis until I give the order. I want Megatron focused on us, not on whatever he has dangling on that scar. Ironhide grins. Time to make some noise, he says. Autobot gun decks light up. Beams lash out, spearing Decepticon escorts. Explosions flower in the darkness. The Ark shudders as return fire slams into its shields. On the Nemesis, Megatron leans forward in his command throne. So they come to us, he says. The Prime and his new golden idol. Good. Shockwave, is the Harrow ready? In a side chamber, Shockwave stands amid a forest of cold machines. He is tall and one-eyed, his single optic a hard purple light. His arms end in tools and weapons. Cables run from his back into a strange device that hangs near the warp scar. It is ready, Shockwave says. The device resembles a cage made of numbers. Plates slide, lock, and rotate, each marked with shifting code. It hums with a sound that is not sound, a pattern that cancels other patterns. When I throw the switch, Shockwave says, the Harrow will focus the echo of their bridge. It will twist their own warp signature back at them. Logic dictates that the Emperor and his toys will feel great pain. Megatron's mouth curls. Do it, he says. Shockwave taps a control. The Harrow flares to life. On the Ark's bridge, every light dims for a second. Perceptor's instruments spike, then flatline. What just happened? Ironhide barks. Did we lose power? No, Perceptor says. Something else. Our sensors can't see the scar. It's like that part of space has gone. Blank. The Emperor staggers. He feels the warp like a second skin. Now, that skin is being peeled off in one raw strip. The Harrow's field reaches out along the scar, finds his signature, and feeds it back into itself in a twisted knot. His shield instincts flare. He tries to throw up a psychic barrier between the Ark and the scar. The field hits that barrier, and the pain doubles. It is like putting his hand between two grinding gears. He falls to one knee. His custodes move to steady him. Lord, one says, what is this? A counter-frequency, the Emperor grits out. They built a weapon out of my reflection. He forces himself to his feet. On the view screen, the Nemesis grows larger. The Harrow itself is not visible to Autobot optics, but its effect is. Space around the scar ripples strangely. Decepticon ships that drift near it seem to flicker, as if they are not fully real for a moment. Megatron is using your scar as a shield, Optimus says. He is turning your power into his defense. Yes, the Emperor says, which means the only way to stop him is up close. We must board him and destroy the device. You can hardly stand, Ratchet snaps. You want to fight a boarding action in that state? If I do not go, the Emperor says, he will keep doing this. Each time he turns my power back on me, the scar will twist deeper, and the link to your god will grow stronger. I will not hide from a wound I made. Optimus looks at him for a long second. Then he nods. Boarding party 2. Launch bays, he says. We go in under heavy fire. Autobot teams Omega and Delta form on me. Ironhide, you hold this bridge. Keep the Ark alive long enough to get us out. Ironhide salutes. You got it, he says. I'll keep her in one piece, or as close as Ratchet will let me. The boarding pods are small compared to the giants that ride them. Autobot frames fold tight to fit each pod. The Emperor and his custodies, strap into harnesses bolted into the floor. Titus clips himself into a niche between two Autobot legs, bolter mag-locked to his chest plate. The pods shoot out of the arc like bullets. Decepticon fire rakes them at once. One pod explodes, scattering sparks and twisted metal. Another spins, trailing smoke, but manages to stabilize. The Emperor feels the Harrow's field beating against his mind as they streak toward the Nemesis. He breathes in slowly. He draws his power in tight, folding his aura inward instead of letting it flare. He thinks of his own body, of each nerve path, each cell. He makes himself small inside his own skin. The pain fades to a dull ache. Interesting. Shockwave's weapon hunts for large, loud warp signatures. A quiet one is harder to hit. He will remember that. The pods slam into the Nemesis's hull. Mag clamps bite deep. Shape charges detonate, blowing open hatches. Autobot warriors surge out of the pods, transforming mid-leap to gain legs and arms before they hit the deck. Blaster fire fills the corridor. Decepticon defenders fall back, then counterattack. The hallways of the Nemesis echo with shouted orders, ricochets, and the scream of overstressed metal. In the middle of the chaos, the Emperor moves with purpose. He reads the ship with his mind. Even muffled, he can feel the sparks like stars. He senses where the density of Decepticon minds is heavier. He senses where the strange silence of the Harrow is deepest. This way, he calls. Down and forward. 2 decks. Optimus falls in beside him. They run down a wide passage, cutting through a Decepticon squad that tries to bar their way. Near the front, Titus's bolter barks, each shell a micro-rocket that tears through armor. Your weapons are crude. A Decepticon snarls at him as they clash. Titus smashes the Decepticon with his shield, then plants 3 shots into the bot's chest at point-blank range. They are honest, Titus says. The boarding team reaches a heavy blast door. Beyond it, the Emperor can feel the Harrow's field pulsing. His teeth ache as they get closer. Perceptor, Optimus says over the link. We are at a major shielded bulkhead. Any way to open it from outside? Negative, Perceptor replies. That door is not on standard schematics. It must be new. You will have to burn through. That will take time, Prowl warns. Time we do not have. Decepticon reinforcements are converging. The Emperor steps up to the door. He lays his hand flat against the metal. For a moment, he closes his eyes. Then he does something simple. He does not try to rip the door apart with a wave of his hand. He does not try to summon a storm. He just reaches into the metal and speeds up every vibration in it, all at once. To the Autobots, it looks like nothing. Then the door glows red, then white, then turns to a cloud of dust that falls away in a hot sigh of air. Behind it, Shockwave stands. He did not expect them so quickly, but he is not surprised. He has run simulations. There is always a percentage chance the enemy moves faster than plans assume. Welcome, he says. The Harrow hangs behind him, fully active. Up close, the Emperor can see the code plates spinning. They are etched with glyphs that hurt his eyes. His own warp reflection twists through them, bent into shapes that feel wrong. Logical outcome, Shockwave says, optic bright. The Prime and the anomaly strike at the source. I accounted for this. He raises his arm. Where a cannon should be, there is a node of shifting light. The Harrow's field focuses through it. The Emperor feels the blow before it lands. It is not heat. It is not force. It is a hole, a perfect absence that punches toward his mind. It tries to eat his presence, erase it from the warp the way space around the scar was erased from Autobot sensors. He does not have time for a shield. He does something else. He steps sideways inside himself. Again, he pulls his aura tight, but this time he also shifts it slightly, like sliding a hand out of a glove just as a hammer hits it. The Harrow's bolt slams into the shell of his presence, not his core. Pain explodes. He feels a layer of himself peel away and evaporate. He stumbles, dropping to one knee. Nosebleed becomes a stream. One of his eyes briefly goes dark, then flares back, fuzzier. Behind him, Autobot warriors cry out. The bolt passes through his discarded glove and hits the corridor wall. Where it touches, metal turns grey and crumbles into dust. More than that, the sparks of two fallen Decepticon corpses flicker and go out completely, erased as if they never were. Ratchet swears. "That was wrong," he says. "Those sparks did not just die. They unhappened." Optimus's optics narrow. He charges. Shockwave turns his aim toward the Autobot leader. But as he fires, a golden spear flies across the room and slams into the node. The bolt goes wild, blasting a long scar in the ceiling instead of Optimus's chest. The custodian who threw the spear draws another from his back. "Touch my lord again," he says, "and see if logic can hold your spark together when it meets this blade." Shockwave tilts his head. "Fascinating," he says. "They display loyalty beyond efficient self-interest. I will study that if any of them survive." Optimus closes the distance. He drives his fist into Shockwave's chest, slamming him back against the Harrow's frame. The Decepticon scientist grunts as plates dent, but he is tough. He cocks his arm for a counterpunch. The Emperor rises. He is not fully steady, but he is still terrifying. With a wordless shout, he plunges his sword into the Harrow's core. Golden fire meets twisted code. The Harrow shrieks, not with sound, with a change in the feel of space. For a moment, everyone in the chamber feels like they are in two places at once. Shockwave's optic flares. "Do not," he starts. Too late. The Harrow implodes. It does not explode outward. It falls inward, collapsing into a single point of black. Shockwave yanks his cables free and throws himself sideways as the device folds into nothing and vanishes, leaving a thin ring of vaporized metal. The warp scar outside flares bright in psychic sight, then dims. On the Ark, Perceptor shouts. "The blank spot is gone," he says. "Sensors are updating. Whatever they did in there, they killed that dead zone." The Emperor staggers again. This time, the pain carries a different taste. Not the grinding cold of the Harrow, but the backlash of losing something that was part of him, even if it was twisted. He catches himself on one hand. Blood drips onto the Nemesis's deck. "Lord," Titus says, moving to his side, "you are wounded." "Yes," the Emperor says. His voice is hoarse, but not erased. That matters more. Shockwave pushes himself up, dented but functional. "Logical recalibration," he says. "Harrow destroyed, but subject damaged and limits mapped. Acceptable loss for data gained." He fires his cannon. Optimus catches the blast on his arm, grunting as armor scorches. Autobot warriors return fire, forcing Shockwave back down a side corridor. "Megatron," Shockwave says over comms, falling back in good order. "Primary device destroyed. Secondary strategy engaged. They will not reach your bridge in time." On the Nemesis's command deck, Megatron bares his teeth. "Then we fall back," he says. "You gave me what I needed. I know how his power bends now. I know it can be hurt. That is enough for today." The Nemesis shudders. Engines flare. The ship begins to rotate, turning toward deeper space. Smaller craft dock with it on the move. On the Ark, Ironhide swears. "They're running," he says. "Cowards." "No," Prowl says. "They got what they came for. This was never about smashing us. This was about testing him. He flicks a glance at the Emperor's life signs, still spiking from the Harrow strike. In the Harrow room, Optimus helps the Emperor to his feet. "We have done what we came to do," Optimus says. "We broke Megatron's new weapon. We cut his grip on your scar." "Yes," the Emperor says. "Pull back before he finds another way to use my presence against you." They fight their way back to the pods. Decepticon resistance is fierce but scattered. Without the Harrow, some of their advantages fade. Autobot teams cut a path through hurried barricades. Titus stays near the Emperor, shield up, taking hits that might otherwise reach golden armor. The pods fire back to the Ark. As they break away, the Nemesis vanishes in a burst of warp light. Not along the Emperor's scar this time. Some other engine, cruder and less focused, tears it into the dark. The warp wound trembles, but does not widen. On the Ark's medical deck, Ratchet works again. The Emperor lies on a reinforced table, chest plates unlocked and pulled aside. Under his armor, his flesh glows faintly with warp light. Ratchet has never seen anything like it. "I have repaired tanks that were easier than you," he says. "You repair well," the Emperor says. "Your tools are clever." Ratchet snorts. "Don't flatter me," he says. "You're still leaking. Hold still." Titus stands nearby, helmet off. He watches the Autobot medic stitch both metal and meat. Optimus and Alpha Trion enter the medbay. "How bad?" Optimus asks. "Not dead," Ratchet says. "Not erased. Some kind of layer scraped off his mind. It will grow back, I think, if he rests, which he will not." The Emperor's eyes open. "Correct," he says. Alpha Trion's optics flicker. "You destroyed their Harrow," he says. "You saved our sparks from being eaten out of the record. You also let them fire it. You let them map how to hurt you." "Yes," the Emperor says. "They would have learned sooner or later. Now at least the Harrow is gone. They will need time to build another. We have bought days, maybe weeks." Optimus folds his arms. "A victory," he says, "but a costly one. Your wound is not like any we know. Does it spread?" The Emperor thinks for a moment. He feels the sore space inside his mind. The glove he shared is gone. His reach into the warp is a little less broad. Where there was smooth strength, there is rough edge. "If they hit me again with a stronger field," he says, "it could strip more. Enough times, and I will be less, not dead, but reduced. My power could shrink until I am almost just a man." "Some might like that," Alpha Trion says softly. He does not say who. Codex note: the Battle of the Nemesis Harrow will later be taught in both Imperial and Autobot academies as the first clear proof that pure logic, given enough data, can wound even a godlike psyker. They gather later in the Ark's main briefing room. A hollow of Cybertron rotates above the table. Lines trace the path of the Nemesis's retreat. Symbols mark likely Decepticon regrouping points. Optimus, Alpha Trion, Prowl, Ironhide, Perceptor, Ratchet, the Emperor, Titus, and 2 custodies take seats or stand. On one wall, a feed from Iacon shows workers rebuilding. On another, charts show Energon reserves, damaged districts, and civilian casualties. Optimus nods to the Emperor. "You fought at our side," he says. "You helped break a weapon that could have erased our sparks. For that, you have my thanks." Some Autobots at the table nod. Ironhide gives a short, gruff salute. "But," Optimus goes on, "we must speak not only of victory, but of cost. Your bridge brought Megatron to our scar. Your presence gave Shockwave something to study. How do we weigh that?" Prowl's optics glint. "With respect, Prime," he says, "we cannot pretend we would be better off if he had not come." We do not know how close Unicron was to reaching through our myths on his own. We do know that without the Emperor today, you and our boarding team might have died in that Harrow chamber. Logic demands we count what we can see. Logic also demands we count what we cannot yet see, Alpha Trion replies. We do not know what echo the Emperor's bridge left in Primus. We do not know what Unicron felt when Shockwave twisted a man-god's power through our god's skin. The Emperor listens. He does not speak at once. Ratchet crosses his arms. Here is what I know, he says. Without him, I would be patching a lot more dead Autobots. Maybe patching nothing at all. Because maybe we'd all have been unhappened. That Harrow field was wrong at a level my scanners could barely show. I am not eager to fight a version 2 of that without someone who can cut it at the source. Ironhide nods. I don't like gods, he says. Never have. But if we must have one on our side, I prefer one that bleeds and stands on the line. Perceptor taps a holo control. A schematic of Shockwave's Harrow appears. We recovered some data, he says. Bits of code left on the deck. Traces in our sensors before everything went blank. This weapon was not only mechanical. It used numbers that line up with symbols from Alpha Trion's oldest data scrolls. Symbols linked to Primus and Unicron. Shockwave mixed your warp, Emperor, with our oldest myths. He points to a particular cluster of glyphs. This sequence repeats, he says, here, here, and here. It is the part the Harrow used to lock onto you. It is what made the field seek your presence. Alpha Trion leans close. Those are Unicron's hungry lines, he whispers. From the Age of Wrath, he has taken the shape of our destroyer and given it teeth that can bite your kind as well. So Unicron can now hurt the Emperor, Prowl says. Not only us. We have tied our fates even tighter together. The Emperor finally speaks. I did that, he says. I linked us. I did it to stop a greater doom. But once a knot is tied, you cannot wish it loose. Optimus looks at him. What would you have us do now? He asks. What is your plan, Emperor of mankind? The Emperor thinks. He chooses his words with care. In my Imperium, he says slowly, I learned that mercy without strength invites ruin. I also learned that strength without mercy turns the defender into the thing he fights. You are in a long war. You have tried mercy. You have tried strength. Now your enemy has a new edge that targets me as well. He looks at the casualty charts. I will not tell you to become butchers, he says, but I will say this. Megatron and Shockwave will not stop. They will rebuild their Harrow. They will refine it. Each time we face them, they will be better at hurting me. So we must be faster at ending them. You mean kill them, Ironhide says. Yes, the Emperor says. Kill them, the leaders, the engineers of this doom. Spare the ones who only fight because they see no way out. Convert them if you can. Cage them if you must. But do not leave minds like Shockwave free to think. Optimus's optics dim, thoughtful. Our code tells us that every spark can change, he says. That freedom and choice are sacred. If we start naming some sparks too dangerous to let live, we walk the same road Megatron walks. He began with, some are too weak to rule themselves. You say, some are too dangerous to leave alive. How is that different? The Emperor does not answer at once. He is used to giving orders, not debating them. But he also knows that tyrants who stop listening sooner or later destroy what they tried to save. In my realm, he says quietly, I saw what happens when mercy protects monsters. They use the time you give them to grow fangs. I also saw what happens when fear calls every rebel a monster. Then you drown justice in blood. The difference is hard to hold. It lies in the why, in the care you take before deciding someone must die. Alpha Trion leans on his staff. You speak of terrible judgment as if it is simple, he says. It is not simple, the Emperor says. That is why it hurts. That is why it must hurt. If killing an enemy you call too dangerous ever becomes easy, you have already fallen. Silence hangs. Titus looks from metal face to human face. In his own galaxy, he has seen worlds burned for less. Here, the debate feels slower. He respects that. Prowl clears his throat. This is all very high code, he says. But we also have practical problems. We have limited energon. We have cities to rebuild. We have an enemy with a new way to hurt our biggest gun. We cannot afford to chase Megatron across stars in the hope of a clean kill. Not yet. Optimus nods. We will not abandon Cybertron to launch a crusade, he says. Our first duty is to protect our people. That is my doctrine, Emperor. Freedom for all sentient beings. If we leave our world empty to strike at Megatron, we betray that. The Emperor studies him. Freedom for all sentient beings, he repeats. Even for those built in factories. Even for those who once were tools. Especially for them, Optimus says. There it is. The real fault line. The Emperor's face hardens. In my Imperium, he says, we learned that thinking machines turn on their makers. The men of iron almost ended us. We outlawed abominable intelligence. We burned it where we found it. Flesh and soul are for men. Machine is for tools, not for minds. Ironhide stiffens. Then what are we to you? He asks. Mistakes? Wonders, the Emperor says, and warnings. You are not my children, but you could be a sign for them. Proof that machine minds can grow beyond tools, or proof that they always end in war. Ratchet snorts. We ended in war because we are people, he says. People fight. You did too. Or did your flesh-born world go straight from cave art to golden throne without punching itself in the face? Several Autobots chuckle, then quiet as Optimus lifts a hand. You fear us, Optimus says to the Emperor. Your doctrine tells you that minds like ours are a road to ruin, but you stand here on our ship, asking our help. You cannot hold both truths forever. The Emperor looks at his own hand. He remembers the feel of the Harrow's killing hole. He remembers the way Autobot medics tended wounded Decepticons. He remembers the worker drone shielding a smaller bot in the plaza. I can fear and respect at once, he says. I can work beside those I would once have destroyed on sight. Just do not ask me to call your way safe. You live on the edge of a cliff. You have built your homes there. I can help you build better walls, but I will still not call the cliff kind. Alpha Trion sighs. At least you are honest, he says. Optimus's optics soften a little. Our cliff gives us a view, he says. Your walls may be high, but perhaps they block more than they save. We will see. For now, we need both. Your caution, our faith. Prowl taps the map. Debate aside, he says. We have new data on our enemy. Shockwave's weapon created a null field. It erased sparks. It hurt the Emperor. That means a foe exists who can harm him directly. That foe is smarter than the average Decepticon brute. Shockwave has always been smarter, Ironhide says. He's just more dangerous now. And he may not be the only one, Perceptor adds. Once a problem is shown to be solvable, others will work on it. Megatron will task whole teams with, how do we kill a golden god? We must assume, Alpha Trion says, that the next Harrow will not only erase, it will corrupt. It may not simply remove the Emperor. It may twist him, use him. The room goes still. The idea of this golden being turned into a tool of Unicron or Megatron is worse than the idea of him dying. The Emperor feels a cold thread in his gut. He has seen Primarchs fall to chaos. He knows how gods use wounded champions. The thought of Unicron's hunger wrapping around his own light makes his skin crawl. Optimus speaks. Then we must understand this new weapon, he says. We cannot destroy what we do not grasp. Perceptor, Alpha-Trion, Emperor. I want you three to work together. Map this null effect. Find out how far it can reach and how to block it. Working with a machine priest and a metal scientist, the Emperor says. The irony is not lost on me. Get used to irony, Ratchet mutters. Alarm beeps cut across the room. A junior officer's voice fills the air. Prime, she says. We have reports. Decepticon raid in Sector 12. They struck a refinery, then vanished. Our sensors show a brief null pulse right before they jumped. Very small, very sharp. The Emperor stiffens. They are field testing a smaller Harrow, he says. Less power, more control. Any casualties? Optimus asks. 2 Autobots offline, the officer says. But there's more. The local data grid, part of it is gone. Not just wiped. It's like it was never there. Records, security logs, even some memories in smaller drones. Vanished. Optimus's hands curl. They're erasing our history, he says. Testing how the field eats code as well as sparks, Perceptor says grimly. They are learning how to make absence a weapon. Alpha-Trion's voice is very quiet. If they perfect this, he says, Unicron will not need to crush Cybertron. He can just unmake pieces of us, bite by bite, with your scar as his tooth. The Emperor stands. The movement hurts. He makes himself ignore it. Then we must assume that every time I use my power at full strength, he says, I give them more data, more loops to examine, more ways to aim their silence. You mean, Prowl says, that our strongest weapon is also feeding our enemy information every time it fires? Yes, the Emperor says. That is the cost vector of my entry. I knew there would be one. I did not yet know its shape. Now we begin to see it. Perceptor says, from what we have observed, Shockwave's null field listens for a specific pattern in the warp, the way our sensors listen for energon signatures. The Emperor's power roars in that realm like a loud engine in a quiet street. The Harrow can hear him from far away. Alpha-Trion adds, once it hears him, it does not push with force as your shields do. It pulls. It draws his presence into a knot and makes that knot cancel itself. It is like code that, when run, deletes its own file. The Emperor says, the field does not touch my body first. It bites my reflection, the part of me that lives in the sea of thoughts. Flesh and armor are hit later by the echo of that wound. This is why it hurts in my mind before it hurts in my bones. Ratchet grumbles. The scary part is that the same field can be tuned to sparks and code. It can turn off a life or a memory with equal ease. If they scale it up, they could erase whole districts from reality, not just kill them. Optimus concludes, so our foe can hurt him by targeting his echo, not his form. And every time he uses that echo loudly, the foe gets more to study. We must limit his use, shield the frequency, or change the song. The room is quiet when they finish. For a long moment, no one speaks. Finally, Ironhide breaks it. So what? He says. We tell him not to fight. Leave him, sitting on a shelf while we slug it out alone. No, Optimus says. But we must be smart. We will not throw the Emperor at every problem. We will choose battles where his presence matters most, and we will find ways to cover his song with ours. The Emperor's jaw clenches. He does not like being told to stand aside. He has carried an empire on his mind for 10,000 years. The idea of holding back while others die burns him. But he also sees the logic. If I shout every time, he says, they will learn to plug the ears of the universe. If I speak only when it matters, and if you shout with me, our enemies will have more noise to sort through. Alpha Trion's optic plates lift. You will accept limits then, he asks, even when lives are at stake. I will accept strategy, the Emperor says, if holding back in one place saves more in another. But if I see a doom that only I can stop, do not expect me to sit in a chair and watch it fall. Optimus nods. That is fair, he says. We are soldiers, not statues. We follow plans until reality breaks them. Then we improvise. Ratchet sighs. I will need more medkits, he says. Up to now, they have scored a clear win by destroying Shockwave's first Harrow and pushing the Nemesis away. But they have also seen that every use of the Emperor's power teaches their enemy how to unmake him, their sparks, and even their memories, forcing them to weigh mercy, doctrine, and survival in every next move. The next briefing begins in silence. No one rushes, no one jokes. The air over the Ark's main table feels heavy. Cybertron spins in the hollow above them. New red marks crawl across its surface. Each one is small. Each one is a null pulse. Perceptor points. Here, he says. Sector 12. We saw it already. A refinery. They erased part of its grid. Here, Sector 3. A storage dome. All data on an Energon stockpile vanished, including the inventory bot's memories of it. And here, this is the worst. He highlights a point deep under Yacon, not on the surface, in the crust. Sub-level archive node, Alpha Trion says quietly. One of our oldest memory vaults. It held backup code for our earliest days, for the first primes. Ratchet frowns. I thought all that was sealed, he says. It was, Alpha Trion says. It was also linked by very old lines to our main data sea, to me. On the hollow, the node turns grey. Now, Perceptor says, it is gone. Not damaged, not corrupted. Gone. There is a sphere of blankness around the old core. Sensors show nothing inside. Not rock, not metal, not air. Just zero. Optimus's hands tighten on the table edge. Is there any sign of Decepticons? He asks. Not now, Perceptor says. But there was a short null pulse before the node vanished. Then a spike of Unicron pattern energy. The same glyphs from Shockwave's Harrow, only bigger. Alpha Trion's optics dim. Unicron reached in, he says. He took a bite out of our past. The Emperor watches the spinning globe. He feels the missing place like a gap in a jaw. His own scar in space brushes the edges of that hole. The warp around it is thin, stretched. What is his goal? He asks. Unicron and Shockwave. What do they want from these raids? Perceptor brings up new lines. The pattern suggests 3 aims, he says. First, tests. Each raid uses a different null form. Sometimes it targets sparks, sometimes code, sometimes raw matter. They are learning what combinations erase what. Second, Alpha Trion says, taking over. They are cutting out our oldest locks. Long ago, we bound Unicron's influence with seals woven into our memory vaults. We told ourselves they were myths, safety stories. Now Shockwave is using your warp math to find the real parts and remove them. And third, Prowl adds, they are mapping your response. Every time you touch the scar to feel what they have done, they study it. They learn how far your reach goes, how fast you move, how much pain you accept before you pull back. Optimus nods once. So their goal, he says, is to free Unicron's teeth, sharpen them with our own myths, and coat them with a poison tuned to you. Standard shields fail because this is not energy. It is code and hunger. Standard attacks fail, Perceptor says. Because you cannot shoot absence. You can shoot the machines that make it, but the effect itself is like a hole in a map. You can walk around it. You cannot punch it. Ratchet adds, and I cannot heal what is never recorded. My tools need a before state. If a spark is erased, not killed, there is nothing to call back. The Emperor's face hardens. So they are eating your history, he says, and using my reflection to do it. If they reach your God's core with that null, they will erase the chains that hold Unicron back, and if they reach me with a stronger version, they can carve pieces of my mind away until I am a shell. Correct, Alpha-Trion says. That is why we must go to the old node. He flicks his staff. The hollow zooms in on the missing sphere. This archive sat on top of what our myths call the Axis Gate, he says, a deep channel that links the data sea with Primus's spark. It was once a way to send prayers straight to our God code. We sealed it after Unicron's last attack. If the Decepticons are cutting around it, they want to reach that gate. If they open it and aim your scar through it at Primus, we do not know what happens. We only know it will be bad. Optimus looks at the Emperor. This is our home, he says. Our God. We will fight to keep him from being eaten. But we also know this. The Axis Gate will be thick with the same mixed math Shockwave used in his Harrow. Our shields may fail. Our guns may be slow. Will you go there with us? Yes, the Emperor says. I must see this gate. If Unicron reaches through it, he will not only taste your God, he will taste mine. I cannot allow that. You may be the thing he wants most, Prowl warns. Walking straight to the gate could be what he is baiting you into. Yes, the Emperor says again. That is why I must go. A baited trap still holds the baiter. Sometimes the only way to reach him is to step into the teeth. Titus shifts. I will go with you, he says. Where my lord walks, I walk. Alpha-Trion's optics flick to him, then back. I will guide you, Alpha-Trion says. The Axis paths are old. Some only I remember. Some only I can walk. Optimus nods. Then we form a strike team, he says. No arc this time. We go under the surface. Small. Fast. Ironhide. You will take a guard platoon. Ratchet. Minimal med crew. We cannot spare many. The Decepticons are still raiding elsewhere. Ratchet mutters something about med crew always being minimal, but he nods. Optimus looks around the table. Understand this, he says. If Shockwave opens that gate, if Unicron starts to climb through, I may have to make choices you do not like. Cybertron is our world. If I must hurt it to save it, I will. Emperor, if I ask you to hold back so I can carry that weight, will you accept that? The Emperor meets his gaze. For now, he says, as long as your choices do not doom 2 universes instead of 1. They go. The Axis shaft lies under Iacon's roots. A wide cargo elevator carries them down at first. Its cage hums as it drops. Lights flick past. Maintenance decks, pipe forests, Energon lakes. Autobot guards stand in a ring around the Emperor, Titus, Alpha-Trion, and the Custodes. They hold rifles at low ready. The air grows cooler as they descend. After a long time, the cage stops. Heavy doors grind open. Beyond lies a corridor unlike any other on Cybertron. The walls are not simple metal. They are layered with plates inscribed in fine glyphs. Some glow softly, some are dark. The patterns are old, flowing. It feels like a shrine, Titus says. It is, Alpha-Trion replies. We built our altars sideways. Our temples run deep, not high. They walk. The Axis corridor slopes down. The air trembles with a low hum. The Emperor feels a throb of power under his feet. Not warp, something else. A great machine heart, Primus. He stops once, resting his hand on the wall. Under his palm, he feels code. Not simple commands, stories. Millions of them, woven together. Every Autobot, every Decepticon, every neutral worker and wanderer. Their lives flow past him like thin streams of light. He could, if he pushed, reach in and change one line. Add a choice, remove a memory. The thought tempts him for a heartbeat. Then he pulls his hand back. No, he says under his breath. Not my place. Alpha Trion glances at him. You felt it, he says. Our God's skin. Yes, the Emperor says. He is awake, even when he sleeps. Always, Alpha Trion says. But we have closed his eyes. Old wounds, old mistakes. If we open them wrong, we might not like what he sees. They reach the missing node. It is like a wound in the corridor. The walls end in a clean circle. Beyond the circle is nothing. Not darkness, just emptiness. Their sensors show no depth. Their optics slide off it. Ironhide picks up a bolt and throws it. The bolt vanishes as it passes the edge. There is no sound. Don't like that, he says. Not one bit. Perimeter scanners flicker. Space is not normal here, Perceptor says. It is like the Harrow wound, but deeper, thicker, carefully cut. The Axis gate lies beyond, Alpha Trion says. The Decepticons must have opened a way around this hole, up or down. Their tools cannot walk straight through nothing either. The Emperor steps close to the edge. He does not touch it. He just looks. To his warp sight, the blank is not quite blank. At its center, something stirs. A massive shape far away. A sense of hunger. A mouth that does not need teeth. A voice that is not yet words. Unicron. He feels another presence behind that hunger. Smaller, sharper. A mind of wires and calm. Shockwave. I know you are watching, the Emperor says quietly. Logic and hunger. Show yourselves if you dare. For a moment, nothing happens. Then a line of glyphs lights up on the far wall. They are not Autobot symbols. They are new, harsh, half Unicron, half warp. The air shakes. A doorway opens in the glyphs. Decepticons step through. At their front walks Shockwave. His body is modified now. Extra plates cross his chest, etched with null glyphs. His cannon arm has grown a second barrel, smaller and blacker, like a hole given shape. The air around him feels thin. Your assumptions were accurate, he said. You came. The Prime came. The anomaly came. The Axis gate statistics show a stable probability cluster for an encounter. Optimus steps forward. Shockwave, he says. Stand down. You are cutting into power you do not understand. If you keep going, you will wake more than Unicron. Incorrect, Shockwave says. I understand enough. Primus sleeps. Unicron hungers. The Emperor glows. All three are variables. My goal is to reach an equilibrium where my faction, my logic, and my survival are maximized. His single optic focuses on the Emperor. You, he says, are the largest unknown, the outlier. Your presence introduces noise into my equations. Therefore, you must be measured, bounded, or removed. The Emperor draws his sword. Golden light crawls along the blade's edge. You have already wounded me once, he says. You built a knife from my reflection. You used it to erase sparks. Today that ends. Shockwave tilts his head. Your emotional response is noted, he says. It will be recorded alongside your physical response for future models. He lifts his arm. The smaller barrel hums. The Emperor feels the null field before it fires. It is like someone drawing all the air out of a room. His skin prickles. The warp around him thins. Titus, he says, stay back. Hold the line. This is mine. Titus wants to argue. He does not. Shockwave fires. A beam of absolute black slices through the air. The Emperor meets it with his mind. He does not try the same trick as before. Shockwave will have accounted for that. Instead, he shapes his aura into a layered lattice in front of him. Not a wall, a maze. The null field pushes through, meets his will in 100 small angles instead of one big crash. It slows. It still reaches him. Pain rips through his head. His nose bleeds at once. His right hand spasms. For a moment, he cannot feel his legs. The beam cuts through his outer layers and bites deep into his warp core. He feels something tear. Memories flash. His sons on the ramparts of Old Terra. The first Space Marines on the moon. The moment he sat on the Golden Throne. Each image flickers, then returns, but dimmer. The beam stops. Shockwave lowers his arm. Result, he says. Partial penetration. Subject's psychic field is strong, but not invulnerable. Damage is non-linear. Certain memories show more decay. Those linked to pride, control, thrones. The Emperor staggers. He catches himself on his sword. His right leg feels heavy, as if part of the nerve path has been cut. His warp sense is dull on one side. Where he once saw Primus's glow clear and sharp, he now sees it with a haze over it. Codex note. Later, Imperial astropaths will speak of a null scar running through the Emperor's aura from this day on. A grey line that never quite heals and hums with distant grinding hunger. Shockwave steps forward. This is the logical future, he says. You decay, I measure. Unicron eats. Primus answers or falls silent. My faction adapts, using both gods as fuel. Chaos is replaced by control. Emotion is replaced by order. War is replaced by design. He gestures with his free hand. Behind him, the doorway widens. The Autobots see a vast chamber beyond. At its center, a column of code descends like a spine into the depths. Plates rotate around it, each inscribed with Unicron's marks and Primus's lines. Black energy crawls along it. The null spine, Shockwave says. Once fully deployed, it will sink through the Axis gate and into Primus's core. It will cut out his wild lines and replace them with rational ones. His hunger, his mercy, his unpredictability will be trimmed away. He will become stable. Unicron will feed on his excess. You will become predictable. I will become safe. Alpha Trion stares. You will lobotomize a god, he whispers. Shockwave nods. Correct, he says. I will design him. The Emperor's jaw tightens. You would turn gods into tools, he says. Into machines you think you can control. That is the oldest mistake in the universe. You did the opposite, Shockwave replies. You turned yourself into a god to control men. You are a tool that thinks it is above the hand. We are the same problem, inverted. The words hit. They are not lies. For a moment, the Emperor sees himself as Shockwave frames him, a being who decided he knew what was best for everyone, a mind that bent a whole species into an order he chose, a golden cage with good intentions. Unicron's hunger brushes his thoughts. It feels his doubt and pushes. A new voice slides in. It is smooth, deep, vast. You are tired, it says inside his mind. I can feel it. 10,000 years on a throne. 10,000 more of war. You carry your species like a load of stone. Let me help. The Emperor freezes. The battle noise fades to a dull roar. In his mind's eye, he stands on a plane of grey metal. Above him looms an enormous shape. A world of iron and spines, a face made of plates, eyes like dark suns. Unicron. He is not fully here. He is a thought, a seed. But he is big enough. You want order, Unicron says. You want your humans alive, your Imperium safe, your enemies gone. I understand. I am the end of all messy stories. With me, there is no struggle, no doubt, just stillness. Images rise around the Emperor, worlds held in perfect orbit, no warp storms, no chaos gods, no rebellion. Every human fed, housed, watched, every problem solved by a central mind, his mind, and Unicron's. Merge your throne with my core, Unicron says. Join your will to my hunger. I will eat the worst things, the chaos that plagues you, the random tragedies. I will take them away. You will sit in a quieter sea. Your people will live longer. They will thank you. He shows the Emperor terror, clean skies, tall cities, no war banners, no plague ships, but also no shrines, no songs. People move in ordered lines, their faces calm but blank. He shows Cybertron, no Decepticon sigils, no Autobot marks, just one shared symbol. A circle of teeth around a golden sun. All sparks hum in one tone. You fear becoming a tyrant, Unicron says. You fear taking too much. With me, you do not need to fear. I will do the taking. You can be the shepherd. You can keep your gentle self-image while I eat what you call necessary evil. The Emperor's hands curl. The offer is a poison that tastes like medicine. He knows the warp. He knows chaos. He knows how many died because he refused to use certain tools. He hears his own son's screams in his memory. He remembers the Horus heresy, the burning of Prospero, the fall of so many worlds. How many could I have saved, he thinks, if I had been just a little more hard, a little more willing to pay any price. Shockwave's real voice cuts across the vision. Join us, he says aloud. Optics on the Emperor's face. Lend your math to my design. Together we can remove the need for choice. We can solve the problem of war like an equation. No more messy variables. No more waste. Autobot and Decepticon fire crackles in the corridor. Titus sees the Emperor go still. His eyes glow, then dim. Sweat runs down his face. The null scar in his aura pulses. Lord, Titus calls. Lord, answer. The Emperor does not. In his mind, Unicron leans closer. You do not have to break your rules, the giant whispers. You can change them. You can write new law. Say, I serve all life. I will use any tool that keeps most alive. That is not evil. That is math. The Emperor sees something else. He sees a future where he says yes. He sees Titans bearing his face and Unicron's teeth on their banners. He sees whole galaxies smoothed flat. No more rebellion. No more surprise. Just one long, unbroken line of years under his eyes. He sees himself, not on a throne, but as a mind stretched across stars. No room left inside for doubts, just function. He does not see his sons at all. They are gone in that future. Too messy, too random. Unicron ate them first. No, he says. The word is small, but it is the first wall. Unicron presses harder. Think, little god, he says. You reject me, and what do you get? More pain, more war, more people dying while you hold to rules they did not choose. You will watch whole worlds scream because you refuse to pick up one more weapon. Your pride will kill them. The Emperor closes his eyes. He thinks of terror again. He sees it as it is now in his own time. Half-ruined, smog-choked, ruled by fearful priests. He hears prayers that twist his name into something he never wanted. He knows Unicron tells half-truths. He also knows Unicron is right about some things. I have killed with my pride, he says very quietly. In the corridor, Optimus hears none of this. He only sees Shockwave advancing, null cannon charging again, while the Emperor stands frozen. He sees the null spine's plates start to turn faster, power building. Alpha Trion, Optimus shouts. Can you reach him? Alpha Trion steps forward. He grips his staff and slams it down. Glyphs flare under his feet. Old ones, pure Primus lines. They rise like blue fire and wrap around the Emperor's boots. "Wake," Alpha Trion commands. "You are not the only will here." Inside the Emperor's mind, another light appears. Not golden, not dark. A steady, deep glow, like a furnace behind thick walls. "Primus." He does not speak in words. He sends images, sparks rising from a molten sea. Two shapes forming, his own body and Unicron's. They fight, they break, they fall. Cybertron is born. Unicron drifts. Then he sends something simpler. He shows a worker drone in Iacon shielding a smaller bot from falling debris. He shows Ratchet stitching a Decepticon's wound. He shows Titus standing between the Emperor and a null beam, shield up, knowing one hit will end him. Choice. Not order, not hunger, just choice. Messy, brave. The Emperor breathes. He feels Unicron's vast pressure on one side, Primus's quiet insistence on the other. His own long habit of control stands between them. For all my power, he realizes, I am not the one who must own every choice. My duty is to guard the space where others can make theirs. He opens his eyes. "No," he tells Unicron again, this time louder. "I will not merge with you. I will not let you eat my doubts. I will not turn my people, or these people, into statues for you to admire." Unicron's face twists. The world giant draws back. "Then you choose chaos," he growls. "You choose noise. You choose more suffering." "I choose freedom," the Emperor says, "and responsibility, mine and theirs." Unicron roars. The vision cracks. Pain floods in. In the corridor, Shockwave fires his null cannon again. This time the Emperor is moving. He throws himself sideways. The beam slices past him, clipping his shoulder. Flesh and armor sizzle. For an instant, his right arm goes dead. He hits the floor and rolls. Golden fire flares around him, but it is thinner now, streaked with grey. The null scar glows. Shockwave advances. Emotional output increased, he notes. Resistance still follows pattern. You refuse better tools because you fear becoming their shape. Illogical. The Emperor pushes himself up with his left hand. He looks at Optimus. "At the spine," he shouts. "If it fires, your god will be cut. Hit it now." Optimus nods. "Autobots," he calls. "Target the spine. All fire." They pour blaster fire through the doorway. Shots slam into the null spine. Plates shatter. Some fall. More rotate faster, trying to stabilize. Shockwave turns his cannon toward them. "I will not allow you to damage my design," he says. Titus charges. He slams into Shockwave's side, shield first. The impact knocks the Decepticon a step offline. The null beam goes wild, carving a deep groove in the ceiling. "Stay down," Titus growls. He knows he cannot kill Shockwave alone, but he can distract him. Shockwave grabs the Ultramarine with his free hand. He lifts Titus off the floor. "Inferior mass," Shockwave says. "Inferior leverage." He squeezes. Titus's armor groans. Ribs crack. Blood fills his mouth. He laughs through it. "The Codex Astartes," he says, "does not cover wrestling gods of logic, but it does say this: a space marine does not yield while life remains." He headbutts Shockwave's optic. The glass shatters. Shockwave drops him by reflex. The Emperor sees his chance. He throws his mind not at Shockwave, but at the null spine. He reaches along the warp scar. He grabs the part of it that Unicron used to reach him. He twists it. Instead of flowing straight into the spine, the god hunger surges sideways into nothing. It is like turning a river in an instant. The spine screams. It fires, half primed. A wave of null energy bursts out. It does not go down into Primus. It rolls sideways through the layer of old archive code around the Axis gate. Autobot tactical hollows flare red. Null surge, Perceptor shouts. Containment failed. It's eating our memories. In the Archon, screens go blank one by one. Names vanish from records. Whole neighborhoods' histories wink out. The bots themselves still stand. They still function. But parts of their pasts are gone. They stop in their tracks, confused, as wars, repairs, songs, and friendships unwrap inside their minds. Back in the Axis corridor, Alpha-Trion staggers. He feels the cut as a physical blow. My archives, he gasps. Whole ages, gone. I cannot even remember what I have lost. The Emperor feels it too. He knows the surge did not hit Primus's core. He stopped that, but he could not stop the sidewash. He chose to twist the river. The river drowned the bank. Shockwave pulls himself up. His optic burns with raw light behind cracked glass. Interesting, he says. You refused to merge, but you still used our tool. You guided the null. You killed fewer, but you still killed. Your moral stance has not changed the result, only the target. The Emperor's face is tight. Yes, he says. That is the price. He could have used Unicron fully and burned the spine clean. He would have risked Primus and his own soul. He chose not to. Instead, he chose a lesser act, and history screamed. Optimus lowers his smoking rifle. The spine is broken, he says. He is right. The column crumbles. The plates fall like dead leaves. The black energy fades. The Axis gate below shudders, then settles. Primus's deep hum steadies. For now. Shockwave looks from the broken spine to the Emperor. Data gathered, he says. Null field works on archive code. Second Harrow form effective. The subject can redirect but not negate. He will always trade one wound for another. That knowledge is sufficient for this run. He steps back toward the doorway. Optimus raises his gun. You are not leaving, he says. Shockwave smiles, a thin twist of metal. Incorrect, he says. This part of me is leaving. That part, he nods toward the shattered optic, remains with you. There is a pulse. For an instant, Shockwave's body flickers between here and elsewhere. Then he is gone, pulled back along some private bridge. Only his cracked optic cover lies on the floor. The Emperor picks it up. Dark residue clings to the glass. When he touches it, his null scar throbs. For a moment, he hears Shockwave's voice inside his head, faint and flat. Running new model, it says. Subject shows increased doubt. He closes his fist. The glass crumbles. Silence falls in the corridor. Autobot guards stand among drifting code dust. Titus lies on the floor, armor dented, chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. The Emperor kneels beside him. You held him, he says. Titus smiles weakly. I obeyed, he says. That is all I was made for. You were made for more, the Emperor says. You chose to hold. Remember that, even if I do not say it often. Ratchet hurries over with his kit. Out of the way, he says. You can praise him later. Right now, I need to make sure his bones stay inside. He gets to work. Alpha-Trion leans against the wall. His staff shakes in his hand. I have lost whole centuries, he says. I can feel the holes. Cities I must have known. Names I must have spoken. Gone. My data stream shows smooth lines, no gaps. But my mind knows they are wrong. The Emperor stands. He looks tired, older. The null scar in his aura pulses like a bruise. This is the mark of my refusal, he thinks. I chose not to become a thing of pure order and hunger. I chose to stay myself. And because I did, others lost parts of themselves. He wonders for a moment if Unicron was right. That is the corruption, not a mark on his skin. a question in his mind. Alpha Trion looks at him. You touched both gods, he says. Ours and the other. I saw the glow around you shift. You must not walk this path alone. You will tilt one way or the other. Optimus joins them. He looks at the empty sphere, at the broken spine, at his people picking up the pieces. This cannot go on, he says. We fight in our own skin, our God's veins. Our past is being eaten from under us. We cannot patch it forever. He turns to Alpha Trion. You said the Axis gate once led straight to Primus, he says. Not just through code, through spirit. Yes, Alpha Trion says, in the Age of Origins. The first primes walked it. They spoke with our Maker. They asked for guidance. They also made mistakes. That is why we sealed it. Optimus looks at the Emperor. Our wars are now tied to his, he says. Unicron knows him. Primus has reached for him. Shockwave uses his math. We cannot decide our future by ourselves anymore. We must ask the one who built us why we are here at all. Alpha Trion's optics widen. You mean, yes, Optimus says. I mean we must open the gate, carefully, with guard, with counsel. We must take the Emperor to Primus. Let our Maker see what we have done. Let him judge whether this, he gestures at the scarred corridor, the golden man, the null-burned walls, is a path he will sustain. The Emperor stiffens. I am not used to being brought before gods, he says. In my realm, I am the one others bring their questions to. Alpha Trion smiles sadly. Then perhaps it is time you stand on the other side, he says. You carry the weight of your species alone. That is a flaw, not a strength. Sharing it, even with a sleeping god, may change you. Optimus nods. Command and Church agree, he says. Autobot High Command and the Keepers of the Axis both see one way forward. We cannot keep patching scars in the dark. We must go to the source. He meets the Emperor's eyes. Will you walk with us to our God's heart? He asks. Not as a conqueror, not as a judge, as a petitioner, as someone who needs help. The word tastes strange. Petitioner. The Emperor has not been that in a very long time. His pride flares. He thinks of kneeling, of asking for aid, of opening his mind to something older than him. Then he thinks of the worker drone in the plaza, of Ratchet's hands, of Optimus standing firm, of Titus on the floor, broken but smiling. He feels the null scar ache. He feels Unicron's remote, angry grinding at the edge of his senses. He knows he cannot solve this alone. Yes, he says at last, I will go. I will stand before your God. I will offer my scar and my error to his sight. And if he judges me wanting, I will hear that too. Alpha Trion nods. Then we must prepare the pilgrimage, he says. The gate must be cleaned. The paths must be lit. Old rituals must be recalled. The last time we did this, things broke. This time, we must break less. Ratchet closes Titus's armor. He will live, he says, if he rests, if you do not throw him at another god this week. Optimus allows himself a tiny ghost of a smile. No promises, he says, but I will try. The pilgrimage begins with machines whispering prayers. In Aekon's deep docks, a long, narrow transport waits. It is not built for space. It is built to go down. Its hull is ringed with drill teeth and grav collars. Old glyphs glow along its sides. Autobot knights stand in formation at the ramp. They wear extra armor plates marked with ancient sigils of Primus. Some carry long spears instead of blasters. Their optics are calm. They know they are not going to a normal battle. Inside, the transport has 3 main chambers. The first is a chapel. Flat walls curve into a low dome, lined with carved panels that show Primus and Unicron circling each other. At the far end, a tall pillar of light rises from floor to ceiling. It is not bright, but it is steady. Autobots kneel here, heads bowed. Some touch the floor with their hands. Some rest their foreheads against the pillar. Their lips move, but they do not speak loud. Their prayers go out as quiet code bursts into the deep. The Emperor stands at the back. He watches in silence. Primus's faint hum brushes his mind. It is not a voice, not yet, just a sense of long patience. Optimus steps up beside him. "Strange," Optimus asks softly, "to see machines pray to a god who is also a machine." "Less strange than you think," the Emperor says. "In my Imperium, men pray to me. I did not want it, but once it begins, it feeds itself." "Does it help them?" Optimus asks. "Sometimes," the Emperor says. "Sometimes it traps them. They wait for me to fix what they should fix themselves." He looks at the kneeling Autobots. "I hope your god has a lighter hand than I did," he adds. They move on. The second chamber is a medici bay. Ratchet has set up portable rigs along the walls. Monitor lines run into sockets on Autobot frames. In one corner, a bed sized for human scale holds Titus. His armor is open. His chest is wrapped in bandages. A custodian sits nearby, helmet off. He watches Titus with the flat calm of someone who has seen many warriors on the edge. "How is he?" the Emperor asks. Ratchet glances back. "He should be dead," Ratchet says. "Bones cracked, lungs bruised. But whatever you did to him when you made him, it works. He heals fast. He should not be on this trip." But when I said that, he said he'd jump out the airlock rather than sit in a quiet room. The Emperor looks at Titus. The Ultramarine's eyes open. "My lord," Titus says weakly. "You wrestled a creature far larger than you," the Emperor says. "You bought us seconds. You paid in blood. That is enough for 10 lifetimes." "Not enough yet," Titus says. "You still need me to shoot something." The Emperor huffs a dry, small sound. "Rest," he says. "This path is not built for bolter fire." Ratchet watches the Emperor as he moves away. "You got hit hard too," Ratchet says. "That null scar in your mind. It is not healing the way normal wounds do." "I feel it," the Emperor says. He taps his temple. "It pulls," he says. "It whispers the easy way, the way where I use anything that seems to work, no matter the cost." Ratchet shrugs. "Welcome to war," he says. "We all hear that voice. Push this button. Don't think too hard about what it does, as long as it makes the enemy stop. The trick is to still be able to look at yourself when the gun's cool." The Emperor nods slowly. "I have not liked myself for a very long time," he says. "But I still know who I am. I must hold on to that, or Unicron will paint me into something else." The third chamber is a cramped strategy room. Alpha Trion waits there with his staff. A holomap of the Axis path floats between him and the door. Lines spiral down into the core. Some glow bright, some are faint, some are broken. "These are the routes," Alpha Trion says, as the Emperor and Optimus enter. "This is where we stand now." He points at a point above the missing node. "This is the wound you saw," he says. "The spine's grave. We will pass close to it. Then we go into older lines. Lines even Unicron has not yet touched. I hope." The transport shudders as it begins to descend. Engines hum. Drill teeth bite into metal. The world outside changes from carved walls to raw strata, then to smooth tunnels lined with glyphs. The Emperor studies the map. "What waits at the end?" he asks. "What does your throne look like?" Alpha Trion's optics dim as he remembers. "It is not a chair," he says. "It is a chamber where all code flows. a node where Primus's spark touches every line at once. The first primes called it the throne because they were simple and liked old words. But it is more like the heart. He looks at the Emperor. You will not be able to hide from him there, Alpha, Trion says, nor he from you. That is the risk. I have walked in the hearts of gods before, the Emperor says. I tore some out. I chained others. I never once asked one what it thought of me. Then this will be a first, Alpha Trion says, for both of you. The transport drops deeper. Lights dim. The chapel chamber fills again. Autobots gather there in greater numbers this time. Even Ironhide comes, though he stands at the door and pretends he is only checking structural supports. Optimus walks to the pillar. He rests his hand on it. Primus, he murmurs. We are coming to you, not as conquerors, as children who have broken your house. We bring a guest who has broken his own. We ask you not to crush us for our mistakes. We ask you to show us how to fix them, or how to live with those we cannot fix. It is not a formal prayer. It is more like a report. The Emperor listens. He likes that about Optimus. Even when he speaks to a god, he speaks like a soldier making a case, not a supplicant begging blind. He steps forward. He does not kneel, but he does bow his head. Primus, he says quietly, I am the Emperor of mankind. I have done terrible things to keep my species alive. I will not pretend otherwise. I did not come here to offer you worship. I came to ask for help. If you judge me evil, say so. If you judge me useful, say how. I will hear you. The pillar's light flickers once. No words come. Not yet. The voyage continues. Later, the Emperor and Optimus stand near a small viewport. Outside, the tunnel walls slide past, carved with old battle scenes. First primes fighting Unicron. Metal beasts biting planets. Long rivers of code poured into deep wells. I keep thinking of what Shockwave said, Optimus says, about you and him being the same problem, inverted. You turned yourself into a god to control men. He wants to turn gods into machines he can control. He was not wrong, the Emperor says. I wanted to remove the need for choice. I wanted to set one path and walk my species down it, and never again let them pick a road that led to their own death. That is the same hunger, just shaped by different fears. And now, Optimus asked, do you still think you must carry all of it, every choice? The Emperor watches his own reflection in the port. He looks tired, older than his face suggests. I think my duty is to open paths, he says slowly, to keep as many doors open as I can, to hold off those who would slam them all shut. But which door to walk through at the end? That cannot always be my choice, not if I want my people to grow. That is closer to my code, Optimus says. He rests his hand on the wall. My motto is freedom is the right of all sentient beings, he says. But I have seen freedom used to justify horrors. Decepticons choose cruelty and call it freedom. I have had to chain some of them to protect others. Sometimes I wonder if my motto is just a pretty way to say, I want everyone to do what I think is right. You question yourself, the Emperor says. Good. Leaders who never doubt themselves should never lead anyone. Alpha Trion appears in the doorway. We are nearing the old break, he says. The place where the null spine tried to bite into the gate. Be ready. If Unicron has a mirror of you to throw at us, this is where he will do it. The Emperor feels the null scar in his mind twinge. He nods. I will be ready, he says. The transport shakes, not from drills, from something else. Lights flicker, gravity stutters, then flips, then rights itself. Autobots grab handholds. The chapel's pillar flares and then dims. Ratchet swears over the comm. What now? He barks. If this is another Decepticon boarding party, I am throwing them into the engine myself. This is not Decepticons, Alpha Trion says. His voice is tight. Axis readings are off the chart, he says. Primus's lines are bending. Unicron's hunger is pushing back. Something in the tear between them is forming. A shape. The Emperor steps toward the center of the chapel. The air grows thick. To normal optics, the room is the same. To warp sight, layers of reality slide over each other. The walls of the transport blur. He sees, for a moment, two galaxies hanging in the dark, linked by a line of golden light. A figure walks along that line toward him. It is tall, armored in gold. Its face is his, but its eyes are black pits filled with tiny turning gears. Its armor is not carved with human art. It is etched with circuit lines and null glyphs. Unicron's teeth circle its shoulders. Primus's sigil burns on its chest, cracked. Mirror foe. I am the regent of the seam, it says. Its voice is the Emperor's voice, lowered and flattened. I am what you become if you accept both offers, it says. If you merge your throne with Unicron and weld it into Primus's spine. I am the one mind that rules both man and machine. The end of need, the end of doubt. Autobots feel its presence like a static field. Some drop to one knee without meaning to. Their sparks buzz in their chests. Their personal memories feel thin. The custodes move at once. They form a ring around the Emperor, spears out. Their eyes are hard. They do not kneel. Another trap, Ironhide growls, forcing himself to stand straight. I am tired of traps. This is not a simple trick, Alpha Trion says. He grips his staff hard. This is a possible future, he says, echoing back along the axis. Both gods show us this to test us, or to tempt us. The Regent takes one step into the chapel. His foot does not touch the floor. It sinks into a layer of shining air. He walks on pure connection, not matter. I did it, he says calmly. In my timeline, I accepted Unicron's hunger and Primus's code. I burned chaos out of the warp. I smoothed Cybertron's history. I ended Decepticons and Autobots both. There is only one faction now, mine. Images flicker around him. Worlds without war, streets clean, skies clear. People, human and Cybertronian, walk in straight lines, their faces calm. There is no laughter. There is no shouting, no debate. No more needless pain, the Regent says. No more hard choices. I decide. I carry all weights. No one else must. The Emperor's hands shake. He sees the peace. He also sees the cost. How many did you erase? He asks quietly. How many did you decide were needless variables? Enough, the Regent says. You know the answer. They are all in you. You remember every choice, every cut. That is why you woke in this time, to tell your younger self to spare himself the useless struggle. He steps closer. The null scar in the Emperor's mind flares bright. The Regent's presence fits into it like a key into a lock. I know your flaw, the Regent says. You believe you must carry everything. You cannot let others fail on their own. You cannot watch them suffer. That is kindness. It is also pride. You want to be the one who fixes it all. So fix it. Merge. Become me. Take this easy path. Optimus steps between them. He looks very small compared to two gods. Easy, he says. Nothing about what you show looks easy to me. It looks empty. You talk about sparing others hard choices, but you stole their right to make any. The Regent looks down at him. You are a good design, Optimus Prime, he says. You were one of the first I unmade. You resisted. You clung to your little motto. You refused to let go of the idea that others could stand beside you instead of under you. So I erased the part of history that wrote you. Primus did not object. By then, I wrote him too. Optimus's optics burn. He feels the hate rise. He does not let it rule him. If that is who we become, he says to the Emperor, then we must stop this now, even if it hurts, even if more people die on the road we keep. The Regent raises his hand. Golden null light gathers there. I understand why you say that, he tells Optimus. You are still young. You still think suffering has meaning. Later, you will see that it is only noise. You will beg to take it away. He points at the Emperor. Now, he says, choose. Fight me, and we burn this transport apart. Your precious pilgrims will die. Or step into yourself, accept my path, and I will spare them. I will spare everyone on this ship. I will take the burden from you. Silence falls. Every Autobot feels the weight of it. Ratchet stares, hands hovering over a patient. Ironhide's finger tightens on his trigger. Alpha-Trion grips his staff so hard it creaks. The Emperor stands in the center of the room. The null scar howls in his skull. It feels like a mouth, ready to bite both ways. He knows if he steps forward, he will slide into the Regent's path. He also knows that if he fights, the blast, waves could tear the transport apart. He looks at the faces around him, at the chapel pillar, at Optimus, at Titus, watching from a medbed doorway, pale but awake. He thinks of all the quiet little choices that led here. The worker drone shielding another, a nurse patching a foe, a medic risking himself for a stranger. He breathes in. You are right, he tells the Regent. My flaw is pride shaped like kindness. I want to save everyone. I want to carry all the weight. I want to fix everything myself. That is why you exist. You are me with no brakes. The Regent nods. And so, he asks. So I must do the thing I hate, the Emperor says. I must trust others to stand. I must let them choose, even if they fall. I must not pick the path that spares me the pain of watching them hurt. He turns his head slightly. Optimus, he says. Your ship, your god, your call. Optimus blinks. He did not expect that. You would let me decide, he asks. This choice shapes your Imperium too. Yes, the Emperor says. You are steward here. I am a guest. If I take this choice from you, I already walk toward him. He nods at the Regent. Optimus looks at the Regent of the Seam. He sees himself overwriting, erasing, smoothing. He sees a future with no Decepticons and no Autobots. Just one big quiet crowd of metal and flesh that never argues. He feels suddenly sick. I choose to fight you, he says. Even if we die, even if this ship breaks, better open struggle than your silent graveyard. The Regent's eyes narrow. So be it, he says. He throws his hand forward. Golden null fire blasts across the chapel. It bends around the Autobots, ignoring them. It focuses on the Emperor. The Emperor raises his sword. Golden light leaps from it, meeting the blast. For a moment, both lights wrestle. Null tries to eat Warp. Warp tries to burn Null. The air screams, the walls buck. Autobots drop to their knees as gravity flips again. Some are thrown into the ceiling. Ratchet clamps down medbeds. Alpha-Trion digs his staff into the floor. The Emperor feels the force roll down his arms. It is like holding two magnets together at the wrong ends. The null scar in his mind flares, trying to flip him into match with the Regent. He growls. I will not be you, he says through his teeth. The Regent steps closer. With every breath you take, he says, you are already me. You know you should take this easy path, but you cling to hard roads because you fear the judgment of people who will be dead soon anyway. Let that go. Take my hand. He reaches out with his free hand. The Emperor sees it, sees his own fingers on that hand, sees how easy it would be. And then the transport itself speaks. Not in words, in motion. The hull shakes with a deep, low thud. The chapel pillar flares bright blue-white, so bright every Autobot cries out and drops their optics to safe mode. The walls melt away from sight. For a heartbeat, everyone is somewhere else. They stand in a vast chamber of light. Above them hangs a giant metal sphere, half in shadow, half in glow. Lines of code stream into it from every direction. Sparks rise and fall around it like fireflies. Primus. His presence fills the space. It presses on them from all sides, not crushing, just total. The region flinches. The golden null blast falters. The Emperor feels a new hand on his sword. It is not flesh. It is not machine. It is a pattern, a will older than stars. In every mind on the ship, a word forms, not in any known language, yet they all understand it. Come. The blast flickers and dies. The Regent snarls. You think you can still refuse? He demands. Even after seeing what you could fix, he calls you to spend more time breaking your back on problems that never end. I offer you an end. Primus's presence tightens. The Regent's edges blur. Bits of his armor flake off into lines of code and fall away into the sphere. His shape flickers between the Emperor's face and Unicron's teeth. Reach the throne, the word comes again. This time, like a drum beat, not a request, a command. The Emperor's knees want to buckle. He keeps them straight. He lowers his sword. The blast is gone. The Regent's form is still there, but thinner. You were a warning, the Emperor says. A mirror, not a final fate. I hear him. I am going to his throne. If I meet you again, it will be on my feet, not as your hollow. The Regent hisses. You will regret this, he says. You will watch more die. You will feel every scream. You will lie awake in your throne, hearing them all, and know that you could have stopped it if you had just let go. Maybe, the Emperor says, but at least those screams will be honest, not smoothed away behind your pretty silence. The chapel snaps back. Walls, floors, pillar, transport hum. The Regent is gone. Only a faint smell of ozone and burnt metal lingers. Autobots slowly stand. Ironhide checks himself for holes. Ratchet looks up from his patient with wild optics. Did I just see our maker? He asks. Because if I did, he has a very loud voice. Alpha Trion leans on his staff. Yes, he says simply. He called us, all of us, even him. He nods at the Emperor. The Golden Man stands very still. He feels new marks in his mind. One, the null scar, still hums. Another, new, is softer. A blue line that connects him to the deep place they just touched. Primus placed a hand on him too. Codex note. Servo Saints in the Imperium will later paint this moment as the meeting of three crowns, when Unicron's hunger, Primus's code, and the Emperor's will first collided in full sight of all. The transport descends faster now. The axis path is clearer. Lines of glyphs along the walls light up one by one. The hum of Primus's spark grows louder. Soon, the tunnel opens. The transport floats out into a huge vertical shaft. Above, darkness. Below, light. Bridges of metal and code crisscross the shaft at many levels. On each bridge stand guardians. They are tall, taller than most Autobots. Their frames are older, blockier. Their faces are blank plates. Their eyes burn a steady blue-white. Guardian Knights of Primus. They hold massive halberds. Some have shields the size of bunkers. They watch the transport drift past with slow, precise movements. As the ship nears the lowest level, a ring of smaller figures comes into view. They look like Autobots, but dimmer. Their sparks are faint. Their presence in the Axis is quiet. When the Emperor reaches out with his mind, he feels almost nothing. Null sparks. They are Cybertronians born without full connection to Primus's chorus. They damp signals near them. Their job is to keep outsiders from overwhelming the core. They move into formation on the receiving platform. Their leader steps forward. "You come to the heart," she says. Her voice is very soft but carries. "You bring outsiders. You bring scars. We feel them both. State your purpose." Optimus steps to the ramp. "I am Optimus Prime," he says, "leader of the Autobots. I bring the Emperor of mankind, a being from another realm whose choices have tied our war to his. We seek guidance. We seek judgment. We seek a way to stop Unicron without becoming like him." The null spark tilts her head. Her gaze sets on the Emperor. "You shine," she says. "Too much. It hurts," she gestures. Guardian Knights raise their halberds. Lines of blue light leap from the weapons, wrapping the Emperor. They are not chains. They are dampers. His warp aura shrinks. The pressure he puts on minds eases. He feels half deaf, half blind. He bears it. "These are the throne cords," Alpha Trion says quietly. "They will keep your presence from burning our core. They will also keep you from ripping it apart if you change your mind about being kind." "I accept them," the Emperor says. The null spark nods. "Then follow," she says. "Primus waits for you, for all of you." They walk. The throne chamber is not far. They pass under huge arches carved with scenes of Cybertron's creation. Primus splitting from Unicron. Sparks rising. The first cities forming on his skin. The first primes learning to stand. The air grows thick, not with heat, with meaning. Every step feels heavy, like walking through deep water. Even Optimus feels it. His joints ache. His spark hums hard. For the Emperor, the throne cords press tighter. His mind voices quiet. The warp is a dim murmur. Unicron's far grind is muted. Only the deep, steady pulse of Primus's spark remains clear. They enter. The throne chamber is vast. In the center hangs a sphere of burning code, about the size of a small moon. It turns slowly. Lines stream into it from all walls, floor, and ceiling. Around the sphere stand more Guardian Knights. They kneel as Alpha Trion enters. He bows his head low. "Maker," Alpha Trion says, "we come as you called. We bring our shame. We bring our hope. We bring this golden stranger whose path now crosses ours." Optimus steps forward. He kneels on one knee. Autobots behind him do the same. Ironhide grumbles, then follows. Ratchet kneels, muttering that joints were not made for this but doing it anyway. The Emperor stands a little way back. The throne cords hum around him. He feels Primus's focus shift. It falls on him like a searchlight. He bows his head. Not all the way. "I am the Emperor of mankind," he says. "I ruled an empire that stretched across my galaxy. I broke gods. I built walls. I tied myself to a throne that burned souls, to hold back storms. I came here because my wall cracked into your skin, because my enemy now claws at your heart. I will not lie. I came to ask for tools, but I also came to hear what you think of what I have done." Primus does not speak. He shows. Images blaze across the chamber. First, Cybertron, whole, bright. Autobots and Decepticons as children, playing in cities that shine. No war yet, just curiosity. Then the first guns, first banners, first betrayals. The images do not judge, they just show. Then terror, green and blue. Oceans, storms, early cities. Then the age of strife, warp storms, demons. Men tearing at each other. The Emperor walking among them, bright like a sun, burning away monsters, binding some, killing others. Then both worlds together. Cybertron and Terra hang side by side. Between them runs a line. On that line stand three shapes. Unicron, his face a great maw. The Emperor, gold, burning, scarred. Primus, the sphere of code, steady. Primus sends more. He shows war as a rule, not an error. Storms, collisions, growth and death. Sparks flaring and fading. He shows that conflict is built into matter, into code, into the way energy moves. Then he shows something else. Across many worlds, small things. A medic's hand on a dying friend's face. A worker sharing rations. A soldier choosing not to pull a trigger. A prime offering a hand to a fallen foe. Human and Cybertronian. Flesh and machine. Acts of mercy. Acts of choice. Acts that break the rule for a moment. Primus's meaning rolls through their minds. Not words, but they understand. War is not a bug, the sense comes. It is a rule of how things clash. You cannot erase it without erasing motion, but you can bend it. He shows three futures. In one, Unicron wins. Everything ends. No sparks, no humans, no gods. Just still rock burning down to cold dust. No more pain, no more joy, nothing. In another, the regent of the seam wins. Everything is controlled. No war, no hunger, no uncertainty. Every choice predicted, every life watched. No more surprise, safe, static. In the third, there is still war, but it is smaller. Fewer worlds burn at once. More stories run their full span. Memory remains. Children learn from old wounds instead of repeating them. Gods are bound, but not to the point of death. Leaders carry weight, but not all of it. Others share it. Primus sends a simple sense. Victory is not the end of enemies, they feel. Victory is when more choices remain after you are gone. The Emperor's breath catches. He sees his Imperium in that third path. Not as it is now, a half-rotten theocracy bound to his dying body. As it could be if he lets go of some control. If he trusts others to carry more. If he stops trying to kill every god and instead learns to cage some with rules that let people live. He also sees Cybertron, not as an endless war between Autobots and Decepticons, as a world that learns from this, that builds laws strong enough to stand without Primus shouting into their sparks every day. Optimus lifts his head slightly. So you never meant for us to have no war, he says. You meant for us to learn how to fight better, for things that matter, with limits. Primus's light pulses. Agreement. Alpha Trion trembles. All this time, he says, we told ourselves that if we obeyed every old line, we could end all conflict, all pain. We chained ourselves to rules and called that faith. And you wanted us to grow teeth and wisdom, not just fear. Primus sends another wave. This one is directed at the Emperor. He sees the golden throne, its cables, its screaming psychers. His own body slumped and still. He sees how his people worship it instead of understanding it, how they use his name to justify things he never asked for. He feels Primus's meaning. You tried to carry all, it says. You became a wall. Walls are needed, but walls that never end crush what they guard. The Emperor's hands clench. His throat tightens. I did not trust them, he admits aloud. Not enough. I saw how easily they fell to chaos. I saw how quickly they tore each other apart. I decided it was better if I decided for them, forever. Primus shows him something else. He shows a world where the Emperor dies, really dies. No throne, no God Emperor, just stories, statues, and people who have to decide things without him. Some worlds fall, others rise. Some slip back into worship of smaller, worse gods. Others build quiet, strong cultures that do not need a shining golden figure to scare them straight. They remember him, but they are not ruled by him. The Emperor feels a deep stab of fear. If he lets go, they might fail. They might also grow. Primus sends a last push. You cannot save all, the sense comes. You can make it possible for more to save themselves. His aura flickers. The throne cords hum as his power strains against them. Custodes shift nervously. Autobots watch, caught between awe and fear. For a moment, it looks like he might break. Then he exhales. I understand, he says. He does not say he agrees with every picture. He does not promise to walk away from his throne. Not yet. But he accepts that victory might not be a finish line where all enemies are gone. It might be a state where his absence does not destroy everything. Primus's light softens. The sphere's hum lowers. The null sparks relax their stances. In many minds, one last shared sense rises. Decide, it says, not yet which path, but what kind of hand you will be, fist, cage, or open palm. Then the direct pressure eases. They are still in the throne chamber. Guardian knights still kneel. The sphere still turns. But the vivid visions fade, leaving only memory. Optimus slowly gets to his feet. He looks different. Heavy still, but clearer. The Emperor lifts his head. His eyes glow with both gold and a faint blue trace. He feels smaller and larger at once. Smaller because he has seen how wide the game is. Larger because he knows his choices matter in more than one galaxy now. Primus's chamber stays quiet after the visions fade. No one moves at first. Autobots kneel, stunned. Guardian knights hold their halberds like frozen statues. The null sparks watch with dim, careful optics. The Emperor stands inside the throne cords, breathing slow. Primus's light gathers. Not around the sphere this time. Around him. It tightens, then unfolds into 3 clear images in the air. They hang before everyone like simple, bright pictures. In the first, the golden throne burns. Terra's sky is red with storms. The Astronomicon, the great psychic beam that guides Imperial ships, flares and flickers. The Emperor sits on his throne, bound in cables, eyes closed. The scar to Cybertron is gone. The line between worlds is sealed. Cybertron fades like a dream in human minds. On Cybertron's side, the warp scar thins and closes. Primus's light dims around it, then smooths. Humanity lives. Ships still cross the galaxy. Armies still fight. The Emperor sees worlds he knows. Cadia, Macragge, Armageddon. They burn, but not because of Unicron. They burn for all the old reasons. Yet something else shows. In the distance, in the warp, a faint new hunger moves. Smaller, slower. Unicron's shadow still finds a way, later. Without Cybertron's noise, it takes longer. But it still comes, like rust on iron. In the second image, the Emperor stands on Cybertron, not in a throne chamber. In the open sky over Yekon, he floats above the city, cloak snapping, sword in hand. His warp aura flares huge, gold and hot. Below him, Autobots and Decepticons both kneel or fall back. He is not under anyone's law. Free agent. He tears Decepticon ships from the sky with a thought. He freezes null fields mid-burst. He cuts chunks out of Unicron's presence like carving meat. Cybertron lives. But the Autobots look up at him with fear. Some cheer him. Some whisper that Primus has been replaced. Some Decepticons flee into deeper space and build new cults around Unicron's teeth, calling him the true voice of freedom against the Golden Tyrant. On Terra, the Golden Throne flickers. The Emperor is not there. Priests chant louder. New wars break out on the edges as his control weakens. The Imperium starts to splinter. Different lords claim to speak for him. Some ally with echoes of Unicron without knowing the name. In the third image, the Emperor walks between two throne-like shapes. On one side, the Golden Throne. On the other, a smaller throne of code and light set into Primus's heart. It is not a chair, but a node, like a command post in the data sea. Lines link them. The Emperor sits at the Golden Throne. He also stands in Primus's chamber. Not all of him. A shard. A focused piece of his will. Enough to act. Enough to fight. Not enough to rule both worlds alone. In this picture, his power is smaller. When he reaches for warp storms, his hand meets rules. When he tries to crush a null field, cords tighten. He cannot do everything he wants. He must ask. He must share. But Cybertron and Terra both stand. Unicron's hunger hits walls on two sides. It does not end, but it breaks more teeth when it bites. Primus's meaning rolls through all their minds. 3 roads, they feel, each with loss, each with life. He turns the images toward the Emperor. The Golden Throne burns brighter. The Emperor feels the pull of the first path. Return. He sees Terra's skies. He hears 10,000 years of prayers. He feels the souls bound into his throne. They tug at him, begging him to come back fully, to focus, to stop splitting his will. If he takes this path, the scar closes. Cybertron's fate returns to its own hands. Unicron still hunts. Shockwave still builds. But the Emperor is gone from this board. His people have him whole. He also sees the risk. Without his scar, without his warning, Unicron might break into his galaxy by some other path. The Imperium might face that hunger alone, with no machine god ally. Cybertron might fall without him and become a hollow, eaten world that still finds its way to his stars. The second path glows hotter. Free agent. He sees himself walking Cybertron's surface, a golden warlord. No throne cords, no Primus law, no Autobot council, just his own code. He sees how fast he could smash Decepticon fleets, how quickly he could tear Shockwave out of his lab and rip his mind apart. He also sees the cost. Autobots would become his soldiers, not Primus's children. Decepticons would become rebel cells that strike at him and any who follow him. Cybertron would no longer be a god world. It would be a fortress, locked under one mind. Terror would fade. The throne would go cold. Astropaths would lose the Astronomicon. The Imperium would shatter into many warring states. Some might grow kinder. Many would grow worse. The third path is quieter. Sanctioned servant. He sees laws. He sees himself standing in a circle of light, binding his own hands with cords. He sees treaties between Terra and Cybertron, written in both code and ink. He sees a shared symbol, half eagle, half Autobot crest, burned into banners. He sees limits. He sees moments when he wants to act, but cannot without breaking the pact. He sees people die because he refused to cross a line he helped draw. He also sees moments when Primus's code and his own will move together, cutting out deeper horrors that neither could stop alone. He feels Primus's sense. Your nature is to build walls, it says. Walls that move. This path lets you be a wall without filling the sky. But it will hurt. You will watch worlds fall that you could have saved by breaking your word. The Emperor closes his eyes. He listens to his own mind. It swings between the 3 futures, like a weight on a scale unsure where to rest. He thinks of Terra, of his sons, of millions of guardsmen who never chose to follow him, but did. He thinks of Cybertron, of Optimus, Alpha Trion, Ratchet, Ironhide, of Titus and the Custodes standing between Sparks and Null. He thinks of the worker drone in the plaza, shielding a smaller bot. He thinks of Unicron's offer. I will take the weight. You can keep your image. He thinks of the Regent's threat. You will regret this. You will hear every scream. He thinks of Primus's picture of victory. More choices after you are gone. Optimus speaks first. He does not tell the Emperor what to do. He just lays out the price. If you return and seal the scar, Optimus says, voice low, Cybertron stands or falls by us alone. That is fair. It is our world. We made this war. We should finish it. Your Imperium stays whole, but we lose your warning, and your enemies may find a way to use what they learned of you anyway. Alpha Trion nods. If you stay as a free agent, he says, you will save many of us, but you will turn us into dependents, children waiting for the golden answer. We will stop growing teeth. When you are gone, we will break. Ratchet crosses his arms. And if you bind yourself, he says, you get the worst of both worlds. Limits, pain, people yelling at you when you obey your own rules and someone dies anyway. You will be hated by those you fail and feared by those you save. There is no easy version of that. Ironhide snorts. I vote for the one where he stays and hits Decepticons very hard, he says. But I admit I am biased. Some Autobots chuckle weakly. Titus, from the Medici doorway, coughs. My lord, he says. In the Codex Astartes, there is a line. The strongest shield is one that stands where blows fall hardest, but still leaves room for brothers to fight beside it. He winces, clutching his chest. I do not know much about gods, he says. I know about shields. The free agent path makes you the whole wall. No room for others. The return path makes you a shield for only your own people. The third path is ugly, but it lets us stand with you. Flesh, metal, both. The Emperor looks at him, at Optimus, at Alpha Trion, at the null sparks, watching with quiet, null-soaked eyes, at Primus's sphere. He thinks of his own throne. He sees himself seated there, bound forever, watching his people never learn to stand without him because he never dared to risk their fall. He also sees the other extreme. Him, gone, everything breaking. He is tired, so tired. I want to go home, he says softly. The words surprise everyone, even him. I want to go back to Terra, he says. I want to sit my throne and hold back the storms. I want to stop thinking about machine gods and null scars and how many ways my mistakes can echo. He lets the feeling wash through him. It would be so easy, he says, to choose path one. Then he opens his eyes. They burn bright again. But if I did, he says, I would make my Imperium safer and leave this world to a doom that will circle back to us someday. I would call that a victory, but it would be a coward's one, a short-term win, paid with another people's long pain. He lifts his head toward Primus. I cannot be a free agent, he says. If I stay here without your law, I will become a tyrant. I know myself. I will see horrors and break my own promises to stop them. I will tell myself the ends justify it. I will become him. He means the Regent. He turns to Optimus. I will not steal your world from you, he says, or your war, or your chance to grow past it. He looks back at the sphere. So I choose the third path, he says. I will bind myself. I will be, as your words say, a sanctioned servant, not your god, not your ruler. A wall you can call on when Unicron or my enemies strike. A blade you can aim, and a presence you can tell to stand down. Primus's light swells. Agreement, not joy, just firm, heavy assent. The throne cords tighten. They sink deeper into his aura, wrapping not only his body, but his connection to the warp. All the raw, storm-hot edges of his power are smoothed. Channels appear, gates, each one marked with glyphs. Autobots see only light. But in the Emperor's mind, he sees law. He sees that he can no longer shove his will across galaxies freely. If he wants to act on Cybertron at full strength, he must open a channel marked with Primus's sigil. That channel demands a cost, pain. Every time he uses it, the golden throne on Terra will flare. Souls will burn faster. He will feel each one. He also sees that if he wants to draw on Primus's code directly, not just his own power, he must have consent. Not from everyone. From one. From a chosen steward. Optimus. Only when he asks, the sense comes. Only when your need and his align. The Emperor accepts it. He also feels a backflow. When he opens those channels, his own warp light will flow into Primus's veins. It will light up dark corners where Unicron hides. It will strengthen some lines, weaken others. He cannot do it often. If he does, he will burn both gods. Perceptor, watching the readings, says, the Emperor's aura is now threaded through the axis like a new layer of code. He can no longer fling his mind across our world at will. There are specific junctions marked by Primus, where his influence can pass. Each use spikes energy in both his throne back home and our core. Alpha Trion adds, those junctions cannot open on his whim alone. They require a local key, a Prime's call, or a council's, or, in the worst case, Primus himself pushing from below. That means he cannot simply decide to reshape us. We must open the door with him. Ratchet grumbles. Every time he does it, he hurts. A lot. My readings say his flesh and his throne both take a hit. He will not be throwing his full weight around except when the alternative is worse than watching him bleed. The Emperor himself says, if I try to break this pact, the cords will fold in. They will cut my reach, maybe even my life. I have made myself hostage to your God's law. That is the only way I trust myself to stay in the lines. Optimus concludes, so he is still a storm, but now the storm blows through channels we choose together. He is no longer a wild force that may save us or crush us by accident. He is a weapon with rules, and a person we can argue with. The light fades back to its normal glow. The throne cords loosen slightly around the Emperor's limbs. Not enough to fall away, just enough that he can move again. His armor has changed, not in color, still gold, but on his chest, under the aquila, a new mark shines. An Autobot crest, stylized, set between the eagle's wings. Around the crest runs a simple ring, a gear broken at 2 points, like a jaw that chose not to close. On Optimus's shoulder, a mark appears too, a small golden eagle, wings folded above his usual Autobot badge. It is tilted, not straight, as if reminding him that this alliance is never perfectly neat. Ironhide whistles. Nice look, he says. Matching tattoos. Ratchet rolls his optics. You two done playing dress up, he says. We need to talk about what this means in actual fights. The Null Sparks step forward as a group. Their leader, the quiet one, looks up at the Emperor. You carry a piece of our maker now, she says, and he carries a piece of you. We will feel it when you act. We will know if you stray. I expect you to stop me, the Emperor says. If I do. She nods once. We will, she says. Optimus steps closer to the sphere. Primus, he says, we have heard you. We have seen your pictures. We have watched this stranger choose the hardest road. What is our mandate now? Not his. Ours. Primus's light pulses. They all feel it. Images form of cities rebuilt. Not shiny and perfect. Scarred. Some towers bent. Some roads broken but patched. Autobot and former Decepticon workers welding side by side. Humans walking among them in sealed suits, engineering new bridges between metal and flesh. They see new laws carved into walls, simple words. No spark erased without trial. No mind bound forever. No power used without cost counted. They see the Emperor stepping in only when null, storms roll, or Unicron's face forms in the sky. Mostly, he teaches. He shows ratchet tricks to shield code. He explains warp math to Perceptor. He argues doctrine with Alpha Trion. They see Optimus in battle. Sometimes he calls, "Now," and a golden conduit opens, bringing the Emperor's hand to bear at a key moment. Sometimes he shakes his head and takes the hit himself, because he knows the cost of calling is too high. They see terror. The golden throne still burns, but around it, for the first time in ages, other chairs are set. Advisors, regents, councils, not just priests. The Emperor's absence is less total. His voice, when it reaches them through astropaths, is clearer. Less like a god, more like a commander who trusts his people enough to tell them the truth. This, Primus's sense comes. This is the mandate, not perfect, not clean, but open. Then the sphere's light calms. The chamber feels less like a held breath. Alpha Trion straightens slowly. "It is done," he says. "He has made his choice. So have we." He looks at the Emperor. "As guardian of the Axis," he says, "I acknowledge you as a sanctioned agent of Primus on matters touching the warp and Unicron. You may not command our people. You may advise. You may fight by our side. You may not steal our story." Optimus nods. "As Prime of the Autobots," he says, "I accept you as an ally under these terms. When I call for your full hand, you may answer. When I do not, you will respect that. If you break this, we will stand against you, even if it kills us." The Emperor inclines his head. "As Emperor of mankind," he says, "I bind myself and my Imperium to this pact. We will not reach for your God without consent. We will not call your people abominations. We will treat Cybertron as a sovereign partner, not a resource. In return, when Unicron's hunger spills toward my galaxy, you will not stand aside." Ironhide snorts. "Like we could, with Optimus in charge," he says. Ratchet smirks. "You mean with me in charge of the medbay," he says. "I'm not patching burnt gold every other day if I can help it. We'll be there." Codex note. Later Imperial and Autobot records will name this agreement the Pact of Twin Sparks, a binding doctrine that treats Primus's core and the Golden Throne as allies in law, not rivals in worship. The pilgrimage ends. The transport rises back through the Axis. Guardian Knights watch it go. Null sparks close the paths it opened. The whole Shockwave cut is still there, but the raw edges are sealed with new code, a mix of Primus's lines and thin threads of warp light shaped by the Emperor. On the way up, the chapel is quieter. Some Autobots sleep, hands still resting on the pillar. Others sit together and talk in low voices. They speak of what they saw, of futures that might be, of how strange it is to see their God not as a judge with a thumb up or down, but as a patient teacher who shows hard truths and then asks them to choose. The Emperor sits alone near the viewport. He stares at the tunnel walls sliding past. Optimus joins him. "You bound yourself," Optimus says. "Most beings like you would have taken more power, not less." "I took what I needed to keep myself honest," the Emperor says. "Power without rules turns even good men into monsters. I have seen it. I have been it." "You may have to remind me of that," Optimus says. "There will be days when I want you to break this pact, when Decepticon guns cut down my people, and I think, if he just reached a little farther, he could stop this." "Yes," the Emperor says, "and there will be days when I see Unicron rising and want to ignore your voice. because the fear is louder. That is why we put the rules outside our own minds, so we can point to them when our hearts shake. Optimus smiles faintly. We are very different, he says. Flesh and metal, throne and spark. But we share this. We both know we are dangerous. And we choose to be held, the Emperor says. He looks at his changed armor. At least today we do. Up to now, the Emperor has seen 3 futures, chosen the hardest of them, bound his own power under Primus's law and Optimus's call, and helped forge a pact of twin sparks that ties Terra's burning throne and Cybertron's sleeping god into a rough, hopeful alliance against Unicron and the holes that eat history. Time moves. The Ark hangs once more over Yakon. Below, work crews rebuild shattered towers. Drone swarms patch holes in the walls. New sensor arrays rise, tuned not only for energy and motion, but for the thin, creepy signatures of null. On the command deck, Prowl points at a star chart. Decepticon activity has shifted, he says. Fewer big raids, more small, precise strikes. They are still testing null forms, but less often. They are afraid of our new shields, or of something else. Perceptor nods. We have integrated some of the Emperor's math, he says. Our fields can now noise up the Harrow frequencies. Early tests show that small null pulses fail when we scramble our sparks in certain patterns. It is like singing out of tune on purpose. Ratchet smirks. Your people now have a medical order to sing ugly during null attacks, he says. Enjoy explaining that to the rank and file. Optimus looks at the Emperor. He stands near the main viewport, arms folded, watching the debris ring. Anything? Optimus asks. The Emperor shakes his head. I feel Unicron, he says. Always, like a storm far away. Angry that I refused him. Hungry, but he is not yet pushing hard on your core. He is watching, waiting for Shockwave to hand him a better knife. And Shockwave? Prowl asks. The Emperor listens. He feels after images of logic and hunger in the warp, overlaid on Primus's code. He is building again, the Emperor says. Not the same spine, something smaller, more nimble. A Harrow that can move, perhaps even walk. Ironhide mutters a curse. Great, he says. A null gun on legs. Optimus turns back to the hollows. Then we stay ready, he says. We hold the pact. We do not lean on our new ally for every cut and bruise. But when Unicron's teeth show, we call him. The Emperor nods. Words appear in his mind. Not from Unicron, from Primus. Simple. Remember, they say, he will. Far away, in the dark between stars, the Nemesis drifts. It has changed. Null glyphs shine along its hull. New spines jut from its sides, like sensor horns. Behind it hangs a flicker of warped light. A private scar Shockwave is nursing. In his lab, Shockwave stands before a new device. It is smaller than the old Harrow, less like a cage, more like a mask. A helmet of black plates and gold lines, shaped roughly for a giant head. Megatron steps into the room. His optics flick to the device. What is this? He asks. Shockwave's optic glows. A Harrow for minds, he says. The Emperor's aura is now threaded through the Autobot's God core. My last spine taught me that. If we can capture an echo of him, we can wear it. Or tear it. Megatron steps closer. He imagines his own head in that mask, feeling a golden presence wrapped in null around his thoughts. How dangerous? He asks. Shockwave tilts his head. High, he says. But so is everything worthy. Logic suggests we test it on smaller subjects first. He looks toward a row of stasis pods. Inside them, shapes move. Some are Decepticons who try to flee. Some are strange, metal-fleshed figures dragged through by glitching scars, Men of iron echoes, old machines that woke at the touch of warp. In the meantime, Shockwave says, we adapt. The Emperor is now bound by law. That is a constraint we can exploit. He cannot act freely. We can. Megatron smiles slowly. Let him chain himself, he says. I will never wear such cords. Primus, Unicron, Emperor, gods and kings, all weak in their own ways. I will make use of each. He turns away, cloak flaring. Unicron watches him, not with eyes, with a sense. He feels Megatron's pride, Shockwave's logic, the Emperor's restraint, Primus's law. He hates them all. He drifts in the dark, chewing on bits of erased history for now. The null fields fed him small scraps, lost archives, forgotten cities. Not enough. He wants worlds. He wants Cybertron and Terra and everything in between. This pact, his hunger growls, changes nothing. You will still break. You will still call me when you are tired of choosing. I can wait. On Terra, the golden throne trembles. In the dim hall, hooded tech priest tighten clamps. Servo skulls click. The air is thick with incense and psychic smoke. Astropaths moan as visions slam into them. Not only warp storms, not only chaos, metal worlds, a sphere of code, a golden figure standing under a strange gear and eagle crest. High, above, a robed figure scribbles notes in a cog-toothed book. New signs, he mutters. The Omnisire walks among the Star Kings, a metal god beside our own, heresy or revelation. He pauses. The Treaty of Twin Sparks, he whispers, as the idea hits him like a bolt. Yes, a new doctrine, flesh and steel impact. We must speak to the Lords of Terror, carefully. Deep inside the throne's machinery, the Emperor's true body stirs. He feels everything. The cords to Primus, the pact, the pain. He also feels something new. Tiny threads of will. People on Terra making decisions without waiting for him. Some small. A clerk refusing to fake a report. A guardsman sharing food. A young Magos choosing to ask questions instead of accepting old dogma. Others bigger. A general deciding not to glass a rebellious hive from orbit, but to risk a ground campaign to spare more lives. A governor opening a port to trade instead of hoarding. They are still his Imperium. Still grim, still hard, but small sparks of choice glow where before there was only obedience and fear. He smiles, just a little. Good, he thinks. Maybe when I am gone, they will not all fall. On Cybertron, a worker drone sweeps a plaza. It is the same worker from the day the sky tore open. His yellow plates are newer now. His arm has a patch where shrapnel hit. His optics still widen when he remembers the golden figure catching a falling tower. He stops, leans on his broom, and looks up. On the side of a rebuilt spire, artists hang from harnesses, painting a new sign. It is big, half Autobot crest, half strange double-headed bird. Around it, a broken gear ring. Below the symbol, in simple block code, are words. We stand, we choose, we call when we must. The worker's small friend, the one he shielded that day, rolls up and transforms. What do you think? She asks. Too much? He looks at the sign. It means, he says slowly, that we have someone huge and scary on our side, but he promised not to move unless we ask, and our own God is watching him. And us, she says. And us, he agrees. He smiles a little. Maybe that means we have to be better, he says. If giants and gods are going to listen when we talk, we should say something worth hearing. She laughs. Start by sweeping, she says. Primus can hear you with a clean street or a dirty one. The Emperor probably prefers clean. They get back to work. Above the planet, the Ark glides. On its bridge, Optimus stands at the viewport. The Emperor stands beside him. Stars wheel slowly. There will be more raids, Optimus says. More null tricks, more hard calls. Yes, the Emperor says. We will argue, Optimus adds, you and I, about when to act, when to hold, when to let others fall so more can stand. Yes, the Emperor says again. He sounds almost pleased. That means neither of us has given up yet, he says. When we stop arguing, it will be because one of us is gone, or because one of us has stopped caring. Optimus chuckles once, low. Let us hope it is the first, he says, not the second. They watch the stars. For a moment things are still, not safe, but balanced. Somewhere in the deep dark, Unicron turns. Somewhere in the warp, chaos gods snarl at this new metal-scented pact that cuts some of their paths. Somewhere on Terra, a child dreams of a golden man standing beside a giant red and blue robot, both shapes holding out hands instead of swords. The future is not fixed. Many will die, many will live. But between a hungry world, a sphere of code, and a tired golden man, a new rule now stands. Power will not be free. It will be bound, argued over, shared, and paid for. And as long as sparks and souls keep choosing in that space, neither Unicron's end nor the Regent's quiet will own the last word.